Good evening, everyone. I'm Shannon Rutherford, the town planner. This is our town plan and zoning commission for Farmington. We will start with a roll call of commission members. I'm going to try to do, my list is not alphabetical. We'll see how I do. Bob Canto.
Here.
Phil Cordero.
Here.
Josh Davidson.
Here.
David St. Germain.
Here.
Peter Zarella.
Here.
And our chair, Liz Sanford.
Here.
And alternates, I have Lisa Fagan.
Here.
Rob Ingberts.
Here.
And Tyler Pogson.
Here. And it's Taylor.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, Taylor.
Thank you very much. Let's start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I'd like to welcome everyone here to the, excuse me, the January 26th, 2026 Planning and Zoning meeting. Thanks for joining us on this somewhat inclement weather day, but we all made it. Way to go. Party fuse. Dave, could you please read the legal notices?
Sure. Notice is hereby given that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission will hold a hybrid in-person and online public hearing on January 26th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers on the following applications. Farmington Motorsports application for site plan modification for landscaping buffer, drainage, and parking lot improvements with waivers for impervious coverage and landscaping at 148 Brickyard Road, Assessor's Lot 3G in a CR zone. James W. Pinedo, application for special permit and site plan approval for construction of barn shed in excess of 700 square feet at 35 Mountain Spring Road in an R80 zone. The Metro Realty Management Corporation, application for amendment to the regulations to add the Scott Swamp Road Opportunity Zone, SSROZ, change of zone from BR to SSROZ, and site plan approval for construction of a 62-unit multifamily community and associated improvements pursuant to General Statutes Section 8-30G at 20 Scott Swamp Road. This will be a text amendment, and zone change map will be posted to the town clerk's office. Interested parties are encouraged to participate in this hybrid public hearing. Participation in person is at 1 Monteith Drive, Town Hall, Town Council Chambers, or online participation is via the link to the meeting on the Town of Farmington's website. A copy of this proposal is also available online at the Town of Farmington's website or by calling the Planning Department at Farmington Town Hall at 860-675-2325. Dated Farmington, Connecticut, this 8th day of January, 2026.
Thank you. Okay, let's get started with our new business. Lexus Thomas TDG, excuse me, Architects. The sign.
Okay, we have the owner on. I've tried to promote him to panelist. We'll see what he's done here. Let's see. Steve. Yep.
Shannon, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And give your name and association with the application, and then we can go from there.
Sure. Steve Barzlak. I am the owner of Goldfish Swim School, and I am also one of the partners in the building that is located at 1599 Southeast Road.
Perfect. You want to go ahead with the application and your request?
Sure. Thank you, members, for taking your time. Sorry I couldn't be there. I was planning on being there this weekend, but decided to enjoy my 5 inches of snow instead of your 24 inches of snow. So unfortunately, I had several trips planned between Connecticut and Massachusetts, but that all came to a grinding halt on obviously Saturday. So unfortunately, I had to do this remotely, so sitting here in my office, and again, appreciate you guys making it in this evening. Our building at 1599 Southeast Road, as you probably have seen or read, is going to undergo a little bit of a transformation as we converted from a former Barnes and Noble bookstore to a multi-tenant space. Currently, Hanush Jewelers, that is currently in West Farms Mall, is going to be in the front half of the building. Goldfish Swim School will be in the rear half of the building as proposed there. And the middle section is probably going to be made up of, Shannon and I've talked about, of probably 1 to 3 tenants at this point in time. So we're working through that as we speak. As you know, this property has a unique challenge. It is divided up between 2 towns, town of Farmington and town of Newington, which basically slices right through the middle of the property as such, with roughly 60% being on Farmington and 40% being on Newington. We have been working with both towns extensively through the not site plan approval, but remodeling of the building. So we do have our permits associated with that to reconstruct the building and kind of give it an updated 2026 look for the space. So we are planning on doing that. We also have been working with Shannon on her team with a few items that we plan on presenting to them in the springtime that she did denote on her package, of some updated landscaping and a refresh of the property from a community perspective, as well as, though I have not heard back from the team, is hopefully some transportational issues along Southeast Road to make it a little bit more friendly and accessible for the active bus stop that we have. Now, I know that is all just part of the part and parcel for tonight's conversation, which is we would like to update the signage, at least the pylon side signage that is located there. Right now, it is currently set back, as Shannon is showing right there. We'd like to move it a little bit forward to the road, staying out of the right of way, obviously, is dictated by Connecticut roadway, and give ourselves a little bit more opportunity based on the application and the ordinance language. But as we know, this site does fall down a hill in some respects, and so we've asked to elevate it a little bit and then give it a little bit of definition that would match the character of the building, as well as, give it some large not signage, I'll call it, but some large numbers for identification. And then obviously we were following some ground lighting aspects that we've kind of worked with Shannon and her team on to make sure that we can illuminate the sign properly so it's visible a little bit from the road. So we do, that is kind of our ask for tonight, and glad to field any questions or let the team take the presentation from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Commissioners, we'll start on my right. Bob, any questions?
No, I'll pass for right now.
Okay, Phil, any questions?
No, no questions.
Josh,
No questions.
Peter.
No questions.
Okay, Dave.
I guess my one question is in terms of how far up the driveway, when you're up the driveway, where is it? I'm trying to picture the location. I know where the old sign is.
So there's an aerial view I can show as well. So this, here's your roadway edge, your curb, your sidewalk, your entrance. So the new sign is going to be, I'd say roughly 20 to 30 feet, that leading edge, 20 to 30 feet closer to the roadway, but still at the front yard setback point.
And that the land already drops at that point. That's right. Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, it does start to drop. Here's a schematic that they prepared.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right. No other questions.
Okay, thanks. Rob, any questions?
I'll hold off for now.
Okay, and then online, Laura? Lisa, I apologize.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No,
Brain-
no questions now. Thanks.
Okay, Taylor.
No questions.
Okay. Well, my one question, I'll swing back. My one question I think was answered by looking at that picture. So it will still be a two-sided sign, not parallel to the road, correct?
Correct, that's right.
Okay. That was just my question. And I see it's going to be illuminated from the ground. And is that the current sign's illumination pattern?
Current signs illumination pattern is probably not well vetted because it's probably, I do believe there are light fixtures out there, but they are extremely covered in shrubbery and or snow at this point in time.
Okay. Okay. And Rob, you had something?
No, you just asked my question. I didn't know if it was going to be backlit or lit from the ground.
Okay. Bob, anything come up in your mind?
So we're not changing the size of the sign, we're just moving it up closer to the road?
So the size is increasing. I believe
increasing.
I'd have to, offhand,
That's
can't
what I
remember
thought.
what the Barnes and Noble sign is, but it is zoning compliant. They are allowed for the regulation up to 50 square feet and a 10-foot tall monument if they're beyond 2/3 of the front yard setback. So they're actually further back at the front yard setback. And they're requesting an extra 3 feet, 10 inches in height
That's what it was, 3 feet. 10.
because,
Okay.
because it's so, which is permitted in the regulation under section L.
Okay.
So, given the speed on the road, the location, the vegetation, and the topography, I didn't feel that it was an unreasonable request.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, no problem.
Okay. Any other questions? Any thoughts? Okay. Do we feel ready to vote? Okay. Can I have a motion and a second?
This is an approving motion.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application by TDG Architects, Alex Thomas, 1599 Southeast Road, for signed application for new monument sign in new location in the B1 zone.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Good luck with your new endeavors.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Have a good night.
Okay, and we have an ADRC position.
Correct. So Architectural Design Review Committee is advisory to the TPZ. It's specific for architectural and landscaping endeavors within our center districts, our Unionville Center and Farmington Center zones. And there is some minor advisory capacity under the Midpoint Development District. So there's 9 positions on this committee. When it was expanded from just Unionville to also encompass Farmington Center. And there are currently 8 serving members. Tim Eagles is a current member. His appointment is up this year, and he is interested in being reappointed. Is certainly qualified. Mr. Eagles is a local architect. So most of the members on the Architectural Design Review are either architects or landscape or other trades individuals that are familiar with building construction and materials. So if the commission's agreeable, then a motion and second to approve Tim Eagles for another 3-year term would be in order.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that we have a willing and able volunteer. So can I get a motion to reappoint Mr. Eagles?
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Tim Eagles for a 3-year term on the ADRC.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Eagles. Okay, and now we have to accept an application from Miss Porter's school. So
No, just gonna accept.
just,
Accept and set
Just
the hearing. Correct.
All
Yeah,
right.
so we're
Schedule
just
something.
accepting it and set the hearing for 1 month out, please. Thank you.
Great. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the application for special permit and site plan approval made by Ms. Porter's School for temporary lighting for limited nighttime use of athletic fields at 8478 Maple Street, 8288 Garden Street, and 11 Maple Street for 1 week in the summer until 10 p.m. in R20 and R12 zones, and schedule a public hearing with a recommended hearing date of Monday, February 23rd, 2026.
and a
Second.
Thank you, Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, now it is time to move on to the public hearing portion of our meeting. I just wanted to go through a couple of things. The process will be the applicant will make a presentation. The commissioners will then ask questions of the applicant. We will open it to public comment, first in the room, then online. And once all the public comment has been received, then the applicant will have a chance to respond. Please keep your comments and questions limited to about 5 minutes. That helps the whole process. And if you are restating what someone else has said, feel free to just say, I agree with the previous comments. That works just fine. And we just want to be respectful of the public's time and our time. We're all volunteers, and it is very important that we hear from the public for these. It's a very important part of the process. So, okay. Our first public hearing is William Clark.
And they're in under attendees, so I'm trying to.
Okay, while you're
Mrs.
getting
Clark.
him set up, I'd like to share with everyone that Mr. Clark lives 2 doors down from me. He is my neighbor. We are on cordial neighborly waving relationships. And there's no financial gain for me in him building this garage. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that I wasn't hiding anything. So.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Clark, are you able to, can you hear me and present your application?
Can you hear me?
There you go. Yes, Mr. Clark, we can.
Oh, great. Okay. Thanks for letting me present via Zoom. We are applying for a special permit and a site plan approval for the construction of a 22 by 30 foot, 660 square foot, 2-car detached garage with a 355 square foot loft. According to Article 4, Section 30, expanded home, this or any detached accessory structure greater than 30% of the principal residence requires a special permit. So that's why we are here. According to the assessor's records, our home is 2,122 square feet, which would make for a maximum 636 square foot structure. So at our proposal of 660 square foot, we are 24 square feet over that. So that's why we're requesting a special permit and a site plan review. We do have an existing garage structure, which is 400 square feet, but that was built in 1940. In the last 80 years, somebody put the front garage door on the side. So what has happened is that none of our cars can actually fit in this garage, but it is a historical building, so we'd like to keep it, and we use it for storage now. We'd like to keep that intact, and our home is within the Farmington Historic District. We went to the Historic District and asked them for a certificate of appropriateness for the garage and the materials, which they did grant, with certain conditions as to the type of materials that we're going to use, and we've agreed to those conditions. I have talked to Shannon about there might be some changes that need to be made in regards to stormwater and some of the soils, and we agree to do what's recommended. I don't know, Jill, do you have any comment?
No.
And we'd like to move to the next step, whatever that may be. Questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
Bob, any questions?
The purpose of the loft is just for storage, or is that going to be occupied?
No, it's not going to be occupied. It's just for storage.
Okay. I'm good for now.
Okay, thanks. Phil?
No questions.
Josh?
Yeah, will the structure have any electric, water, sewer, or HVAC?
No.
I love electric.
Oh,
No,
right,
electric.
electric. Yes, sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good thing Jill is here.
Yeah, keep you honest. That's good.
That's right.
And do we know the grade surrounding the garage? It was tough for me to pick that up because I know you back up to, I think it's Noah Wallace, right?
Yes, we do. I'm not sure do you know the answer to that, Shannon?
I believe it's fairly, you just, I mean, that area where you're placing the garage is fairly flat. correct?
Flat.
You
It's
have-
definitely flat. Yeah, there's
Your
no
driveway.
fill in it.
Yeah, your driveway's there right now, so
Right.
correct. So there's no
Okay. And the,
discernible grade differential. It does, yeah.
and the
It may
water
dro- I'm assuming it drops a foot or two, but it's not.
Okay.
10 feet.
and the water issue, it'll, like the garage will have gutters and that will drain into whatever that system you were describing that you had advised the applicant. Is that right, Shannon?
Correct.
Yeah.
If the soil conditions will
If it warrants.
accommodate. If not, then we will work with them to make sure that it's not creating a nuisance on an adjoining property.
Great. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
Would you agree that is the garage significantly taller than other existing garages in the neighborhood?
No.
And significantly larger in sort of the footprint than other existing garages?
No, it's not. It's actually smaller than my neighbor's garage.
Okay,
And-
no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Rob?
No questions.
Okay. Lisa?
No questions, thank you.
And Taylor?
No questions.
Okay. Currently my questions have been answered, so thank you very much. Because this is a public hearing, if there is anyone in the room who would like to speak, now is your opportunity. Come up to the the podium, state your name and address, and then you can make your comment. Looks like no one's here. How about anybody online?
If anyone's called in to offer comment regarding the application for the Clark's Garage at 14 Mountain Road, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom, and you'll be acknowledged to address the commission. Again, if anyone's called in to offer comment on the application at 14 Mountain Road, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. Madam Chair, there are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, are we comfortable with the information we've been presented? Do we need anything more? Any other questions have come up?
I said one question from Shannon. I didn't see it in the referenced regulation, but is there any other regulation that limits the amount of accessory buildings on a property?
So there's 3 actually that we check. So there's Article Article 4, Section 2, accessory structures to residential family. That's a 700 square foot threshold. So this didn't trip that. And the other is a habitable space threshold embedded in our residential regulation. And your habitable space cannot exceed, your non-habitable space may not exceed 75% of your habitable space. So we do the living area, take 75% of that, and that's your maximum total garage area, whether it's attached or detached and shed, etc. And it does not exceed those thresholds.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so I always forget, do I close and then vote, or do we vote and then close?
Nope, close and vote, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing for William Clark, 14 Mountain Road. And commissioners, do we have any discussion? Do we feel comfortable? Do we understand what we are voting for?
You need a motion,
Then we
motion
will-
second, and then discussion.
Right, I see, I'm a little
No, I
rusty.
know.
I'm
We're-
sorry.
I understand.
Okay. Can I get someone to make a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the application for special permit and site plan approval made by William Clark for the construction of a 22-foot by 30-foot, 660 square foot two-car detached garage with a 355 square foot loft in accordance with Article 4, Section 30, expanded home at 14 Mountain Road, R20 zone.
And the second?
Second.
Okay, now, let's jump in the gun. Okay, now, do we understand what we're voting on? Do we feel comfortable? We feel prepared? Okay, well then, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. Good luck, Mr. Clark, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. So the next thing on the agenda is Farmington Motorsports. This is going to be opened, and then we are going to immediately continue it to February 9th, 2026 due to availability of people. So,
Correct. The applicant and their attorney are not available this evening, so they've requested a continuance.
Madam Chair, before we vote on the continuation, I'd like to speak to a motion if I can.
I'm not sure if that is that excessive?
So
Sorry.
we've been advised by the town attorney to simply open it and continue it to February 9th. There should not be any discussion regarding the application in the absence of the applicant or their attorney here to hear comments and participate in the conversation.
I guess my motion relates to the commission's procedures to ensure that the hearing, when it is continued, can be a legally binding and valid hearing. And my concern is that we get there and we may not have what we should have, which would just cause further delay. So that's my interest in doing it now versus waiting.
I understand, but without the applicant or their attorney here to hear the concerns or be part of those conversations, they can be relayed to the applicant. I'm letting you know what the town attorney suggested.
Okay.
So I feel that we should open and then continue it, and then we can discuss this on the 9th.
I guess I'd like to move to amend. I mean, you haven't made a motion, but if you're making the motion, I guess I'd move to amend the motion.
You think about my Robert's Rules of Order.
There isn't a motion on the table.
So, but when we
can wait someone to make the motion first. That's fine.
excuse me.
So we need a motion and a second to continue this to February 9th, please.
Right. We'll start there. Okay, can I have a motion and a second to continue the Farmington Motorsports application to February 9th, 2026?
So I will make that motion.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so it is now continued until February 9th.
We haven't voted.
Which, you're right. you haven't.
So-
See, I'm getting all
So
flustered here.
if we can-
Sorry. What were you going to say, Josh?
Sorry, point of order, I guess, just, I believe you would offer us the opportunity to comment before voting.
Okay, that's true.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I would just move to amend the motion to continue to include the requirement that the applicant provide a formal APA permit application and the materials management plan for the facility, including 144 and 148 Brickyard, prior to the February 9th meeting.
So we would have to vote to amend.
So he's making a amendment to the motion, so you'd have to amend the motion or agree to amend the motion. So you can
Discuss.
vote, get a motion and a second to amend the motion, or Commissioner St. Germain, excuse me, can agree to amend the motion as noted. Commissioner Zarella concur, and it can proceed accordingly.
Okay, I think I got all those options. So we could accept that, and
Do we have discussion about the amendment, motion to amend? Is that what would be proper?
but then it would bring up issues.
Look,
Give me a second.
the commission needs to, that's fine. Have the conversation, it's recorded, the applicant will be made aware.
Okay, so what was your discussion?
So I'll try to keep this brief. So the motion is to ensure that before we review a site plan, that we review a site plan that is legally valid, and that the proper steps had been taken before the site plan. And this commission, as you all know, also serves as the Aquifer Protection Agency in town, which is responsible for regulating designated aquifer protection areas, which are areas that feed our drinking water supply. And that regulation requires us to regulate regulated activities in that zone. And as part of those regulations, the definition of a facility is very clearly spelled out, that any contiguous parcel that is under common control, which exists in this situation, is required to be reviewed as a facility. And there are regulated activities occurring in that facility in the record. And so prior to doing a site plan review, I think the commission needs to review whether an APA permit is warranted for this expansion activity, which is again in the regulations. Any expansion activity in a regulated zone and in an APA zone is required to come to the APA for review. And so I'm requesting that we require that the applicant submit that permit, or that I'd like to require that yes, I said it as they require the permit. I would ask that we require the applicant to submit a permit so that we can review the activity of the entire facility, and that the applicant provide the current materials management plan, which is a requirement of their current registration per the town regulations on their adjoining parcel that is part of the same facility. And so I'm doing this because I believe that the protecting our aquifer protection zones is of critical importance, and that we should not review the site plan because the Aquifer Protection Agency may change things about the site plan. So it's improper to review the site plan before we rule on that. And in addition, I also believe that we should be looking at both parcels from a site plan perspective, because the site plan that we're looking at today does not currently include circulation to the adjacent property, which is where the singular driveway and street access is. to the street. So we can't properly evaluate the current site plan for circulation and traffic impact as examples without looking at the other parcel as well.
So that is the rationale for your amendment.
Yes.
Now,
So we would still continue the hearing to the same date, but just with additional requirements,
okay,
which doesn't prejudge whether an APA permit is required. It just requires that we then have to meet in a properly noticed APA meeting, which if we proceeded with just the continuation, we would not have a properly noticed APA meeting. We could not address APA issues before the site plan review public hearing. So we would either delay this, we would potentially further delay the site plan review, or we would, in my view, improperly proceed with the site plan review without going through the APA process as required by the regulations.
okay. So then that leaves us in the position where we have a motion and a second on the floor. Now, we can, if you gentlemen choose to amend, or you can rescind and then we'd have to would like to amend or agree to the amendment, I should say.
Yeah, I guess I need to hear more before I would amend it. Like, I'm wondering, is this, my thinking always was that this is something that would come out in the site plan presentation. Any of these issues would be something that we would deal with and would impact what we talked about afterwards. So I'm just wondering, is there merit to what we're talking about now? What you're thinking?
There's no harm in the amendment. The attorneys have been alerted, ours, the applicants, and I've been in touch with DEP. So there's no harm in the amendment. I'm not certain that it's needed, but if it's not needed, then that will come through from the attorneys and DEP. So there's no harm in asking for that and amending the continuance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to sort of talk about it further and get into more detail, but I'm trying not to sort of spend too much time on the issue or, get the actual like merits of the claim, because I don't know the answer. But what I'm saying is that I believe that this is important enough and it is in a designated zone. The definition of a facility is clear, that it includes the contiguous property. We are not looking at the contiguous property, and we do not have the proper information that would be included in a permit, in addition to the existing materials management plan that exists at the facility that should be part of our review. And so I'm trying to ensure that we have that information to proceed in a timely fashion. And that my understanding is for us to have that conversation as an APA, that it needs to be a properly noticed APA meeting separate from TPZ. It can happen at the same time, but just like Conservation Commission and Inland Wetlands, right? Shannon understands it. I'm sure many of you do.
Yeah,
So,
correct.
so that's my
The
understanding, is that we would have to.
schedule for APA mimics TPZ. So that's when you approve the meeting schedules in October or November, it's for TPZ and Aquifer Protection Agency. So this board acts as both. So
Right.
you would hold one meeting, adjourn it, open the next.
That's not something I've seen since I've been here.
Correct,
doesn't
because
happen often.
we don't have to do this very often. And the last time all the registrations were renewed for our aquifers was back in 2021. So they're on a 5-year renewal. So the APA will be convening this year for the registration renewals for the Sand and Stone Aquifer and the 5P Aquifer.
However, an expansion is explicitly called out as requiring a review by the agency, by the APA, in the regulations. And
I'm not debating these points as part of this conversation.
Okay. I'm just making a statement, Commission.
You said the DEP's going to be notified also?
I called in spoke deep at the end of last
Okay.
week
Okay.
regarding this.
All right.
Yes. And I have forwarded them a number of emails and information, including the information from 2018 when this use was originally reviewed and approved This building is there and the outdoor storage is there.
Right,
And this
okay.
was done in 2018.
Okay,
So
thank you.
all of that documentation has been sent to DEEP. Obviously, they are not open today. I haven't heard from them since
They wrapped
my
up.
conversation, mail exchanges on Friday.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I will return to my my motion and second. Are you gonna say something, Keith?
I was just going to jump in. I'm not going to second, agree to amend the motion with my second. No disagreement with the sentiment or substance, but I just don't think it's necessary. I mean, we should just continue the hearing.
Okay,
Yeah, I think I'd concur with that from my perspective now, because I think we'll deal with the questions when they come up. And I'd rather not spring something on them and have them, put more burden on them than they need. But then we'll make sure we'll ask the questions that, that we need to hear to make sure our aquifer is protected. So I'm gonna.
so
I guess I would just say, how will we review those legally if we are not meeting as the Aquifer Protection Agency? My understanding is we can't require those things or discuss those things because it's outside the scope of TPC.
But Shannon, you did say that originally the plans are with DEEP and it was all done in 2018.
Correct.
And nothing in that state has changed since 2018, but what they're going to do now.
They're
Yeah.
expanding the use, but the use.
Okay.
So again, the attorney, the applicant's attorney, our
Right.
town attorney have been advised. So through those conversations, if they feel, and in consultation with DEEP, if an APA registration or documentation is needed, then that direction will come from them.
I mean, with respect, it's the APA's job to enforce the Farmington regulations, not DEEP. We have our own regulations that are separate from the state. So that's the purpose of my motion. So, but
The interpretation and understanding of those regulations come from DEEP and our town attorney.
yes, I'm not an attorney. I cannot rule on that. I defer to Bob DiCrescendo. Okay, so we would need to get
So there's a motion and a second.
second.
The gentleman that made the motion and second have not accepted the amendment.
So,
So you can call a vote
okay,
for the motion and second to continue to February 9th.
okay. So I'd like to call a vote on the continuation of this public hearing until February 9th, 2026. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. We will discuss this on February 9th. Okay, our next public hearing, James W. Finito, I'm sorry. I got it right the first time. Oh, good one. Yes, come on up, introduce yourself, give us your address and
Okay, good evening. My name is James Panito. I live at 35 Mountain Spring Road with my wife Lori. We've lived there since 2020, lived in Farmington for almost 40 years. So on this property, as you can see, in the back corner of the lot, what I'm planning to do is to have a barn built there. The barn structure is a post and beam. Current design is from Hinman Lumber in Burlington. And the dimensions of the barn structure are 24 by 30, which that barn structure would be 720 square feet, which is 20 feet above that limit. I have a lean-to, which is a 10-foot by the length of the side, so that's another 240 square feet. So we put that in the math with the square footage, although that's open on 3 sides. And the barn would have electricity, no plumbing. And the use of it would be a workshop for woodworking and things like that. Like I said, I've been living, my wife and I, for 40 years here, and tired of putting my sawdust all over our cars in my garage. So it's sized to have enough equipment there, like a table saw, bandsaw, drill press, things like that. But that's the use of the property. As far as HVAC goes, I haven't looked into it, but especially given some of the weather, is putting a heat pump in there, but I haven't finalized that plan. So I put in the back corner of the property on the other side of the property, which is a few hundred feet away at least. There's that wetland easement, I believe that's what it's called, on the far left side. So I'm several hundred feet away from that. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, commissioners. Bob?
Great looking barn. Just for hobby, or
That's it, just for hobby.
so you're not planning on selling out of there? It's just
No.
to keep the dust off the wife and
E-
not sleep on the
exactly.
sofa?
I have nieces and nephews that have a list of projects for me.
Gotcha. No problem.
Okay, Phil?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Shannon to show what's around that, and I think she's ahead of me.
Yep, so here's the aerial map. Mountain Spring Road. I got, with Zoom, I get a bunch of extra little drop down boxes and things I gotta move out of my way. So bear with me here for a second. There we go. Okay, Mountain Spring Road 35 is a rear lot. And so Mr. Panino is looking at putting
Behind
it
the
here in
fence, yeah,
back.
that fence line is behind the fence in that corner.
On the far side of the fence?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a few of these evergreens will come down.
yeah, some of them are already down, some have fallen down.
Sure.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, the aerials from 2023, so that's entirely, yeah.
All right, so there's really nothing near that area at this point.
Correct. The closest thing would be the golf balls, which I'm sure they have quite a few in their yard on occasion, so.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Josh?
How do you plan to get from grade into the garage doors? It would be gravel, ramp,
Gravel,
asphalt, something.
gravel.
And the gutters, will there be gutters on the barn, or?
I've talked about that with the builder. I haven't planned on putting gutters on there, but I'm not sure. I'm not convinced I'm gonna put gutters there.
I was just wondering about where with the wetlands and the conservation easement, I see that, I think there's drainage pipes already from your main house in the ground. I'm just curious where if the gutters would be put underground and where that would terminate, if it would head towards the conservation easement, if it would be.
Yeah,
somewhere
I
else.
wasn't.
That's the only question.
Yeah, I was not planning to tie that in. There is a gutter system that flows into that wetland area. It's in the front of the house. The low point's in the front of the house.
Okay.
And there's underneath that parking lot area to that side. There is that. I wasn't intending on, it was a lot, my original thought was just to let it run off.
No gutters. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Peter?
No questions from me. Thank you for the presentation.
Dave?
Any kind of outside lighting?
No, I wasn't, maybe lighting in the front, but we wanted to keep that as, undisturbed. So I had no intention about front lighting, maybe a front door light, but I have nothing outside. I don't think spotlights either.
All right, no other questions.
Okay. Rob?
Bob asked my question.
Okay, great. Lisa, any questions?
No, no questions.
Okay, thank you. And Taylor?
I only have one small question. Just given you said that already, some of the trees had come down on their own. I don't know if they've been cleaned up yet or not, but what's your proposed cleanup plan going in there? And would that have any negative impacts on the nearby wetlands? Given that, you'd have to get some machinery down in there and get that
Bring
cleared
up
out.
That picture.
This one? Bear?
Yeah, exactly. There might, my neighbor 49, not my current neighbor, prior neighbor, he really knocked down a lot of trees in that back area, or along adjacent. He opened up a view to his property. There's a lot of tree logs behind that property line. I have some tree logs, so we knocked down a couple of trees and a couple fell. I'm actually planning to use them in my projects. They're old pine, so I've kept my logs. But there are a number of logs behind that has nothing to do with my property. They're really adjacent to the golf course. It was again, the neighbor next to me. So I plan to clean up all my wood and use it. That's the thought. But I would not would add to the pile that's there.
Okay.
Okay, great, Taylor. Thank you. One question, sir. What do your neighbors think?
I've talked to a couple of neighbors. Matter of fact, the person in front of us, 37, was here for a special permit just a month ago, reconstructing a barn. That's where I got the square footage roughly for mine. So no, I've just talked to a couple of them. They have, it is literally so far in the back. There's no in the line of sight of a house that I'm aware of that anybody would have an issue with. So no, I have no.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, it's about as far away from Mountain Spring Road as you can get.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
So
near the golf ball, so, but yeah.
Duck, I just get, I don't know, shatterproof windows.
That's why I put the lean-to on that side and no windows.
Okay, you're thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now, it is a public hearing. So if anyone would like to speak on this subject, now is your chance. Please come on up. Okay, looks like no one in the room. How about online?
Okay, if anyone has called in to offer comment on the Pinito application at 35 Mountain Spring Road for a barn, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. You'll be acknowledged to address the commission. Again, if anyone else has called in regarding the Pinito application at 35 Mountain Spring Road, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. Madam Chair, there are no hands raised.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Yes.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. It came up. You're not planning on having a dedicated driveway to the barn, are you? Yeah. So you're gonna, anything that gets disturbed when they're building it, they're gonna seed back to natural or back to what you have there now?
How to describe it? There's no grass back there. It's just wild.
But they're gonna have to go over your grass to get to it, is what I'm saying.
I plan to keep the grass there. I do plan to extend that gravel driveway like 10 or 15 feet in front, so it ramps up so I can get equipment in. Other than that, there's going to be no extended driveway if that answers your question.
Correct. Okay. Yep. No problem.
Anything else, commissioners?
The lean-to, that's going to be just used for your lumber that you're going to have back there?
Wood, like firewood.
Yeah. Okay.
I check firewood, so that will be for most of it. Okay. I have it scattered around the yard. So
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Then we can close this public hearing. And I need a motion and a second on this application.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the application for a special permit and site plan approval made by James Pinito for construction of the barn shed in excess of 700 square feet, 35 Mountain Spring Road in an R80 zone.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Good luck with your barn.
Thank you.
Okay, and our final public hearing, the Metro Realty Management Corporation project. Come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Pinito's glove.
All set?
Yeah, Mr. Pinito left a glove. We have a good Samaritan.
Okay.
Attorney Hohet, if you, and I apologize, I didn't realize that the podium is, if you want to rotate that so you're more facing the commission like we usually are.
You don't want me facing the hall anymore?
Well, no, and I apologize that.
No, I noticed it before and thought, well,
No, it escaped as I was, the multitude of other things I was doing to prep. I missed that until Mr. Panito was standing there and I went,
sadly, I don't really have a great angle, but this will have to do for this evening. All right, let's
Thank
start. Good evening again. My name is Christian Hoeb, and I represent the applicant. My office is located at 314 Main Street, pretty much a stone's throw from this property. I also live probably a mile away on Forest Hills, so I'm very familiar with the site, and I'm really pleased about this application. I've represented Metro for quite some time. I want to start by introducing our players for this evening. With me is Kyle Richards and Ben Tripp on behalf of the applicant. I thought I saw Jeff Sager pop in as well. Attorney Andrea Gomes from Hinckley Allen will be speaking in just a moment. Tom Daly, who you're familiar with from SLR International Corporation, and Mark Bertucci from Fuss and O'Neill, who I'm sure has been before you in the past. So yeah, I'm very proud to be counsel to Metro for many years, and I'm pleased to open up the presentation for the team. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a Farmington attorney. My office is here. I've lived here for over 30 years. I haven't moved, same location. So again, I know this site extremely well. The subject property is approximately 5.8 acres located between Scott Swamp Road, Route 6, and Scott Swamp Road, Main Street intersection. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It was the old touch points. There are a variety of uses around the site, as you know. There's a Dunkin' Donuts, which is right around the corner, together with a gas station. That's to the west. There's an office building, a series of office condominiums, including mine, to the north. There's a CVS pharmacy, which replaced the old Silo restaurant, to the east, and there are single-family residences to the south. This is located in a BR zone, where conversion of a nursing convalescent home to multifamily is permitted via zoning permit approval. The parcel was improved previously with the Touchpoint Skilled Nursing Facility. Again, I must add that I'm very familiar with that. I was appointed many times by the Farmington Probate Court to represent folks there. I saw the property, was inside many times. It closed in August of 2023, I think was the year. And when it was fully functioning, there were 120 beds. At the time of the closure, there were 105 residents and over 100 staff members employed providing 24-hour care. It served its purpose for many years, but became functionally obsolete and ultimately was closed due to underfunding from the Connecticut Medicaid program. As with any skilled nursing facility, hours of operation were 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with employees, vendors, trucks, deliveries, and emergency services coming to and from the property all hours of the day. I want to now bring you forward to the applicant. Metro is and will continue to be a valued member of the Farmington community. They have a reputation, well-deserved, for transparent applications, exacting construction, superior landscaping, and attractive architecture. As I was preparing for this hearing, I was trying to think of one word that I think summarizes my impression over the years, and that is the word meticulous. They're meticulous planners, they're meticulous developers, their construction is meticulous. I watched Trailside construction because I walk over there every day, and I watched that, and they were organized, and it was a clean site, and just really, it was fantastic to watch. But they're also meticulous with their management of the property. So I can't say enough about Metro's history and track record within the community. One of the things that I think is endearing about them is that they often organize community meetings. And in this instance, they did the same thing. During this application, they invited every abutter who would have received notice of this hearing to come and meet with them. And I think at that meeting, which I did not attend, there were 4 people, including 2 neighbors who lived directly across from the street, and then 1 additional neighbor who couldn't make the meeting and continues to correspond with Metro via email. As a result of those meetings, and again, I think this is really good for all applicants to meet with the folks in the neighborhood and converse and exchange ideas, test your concepts, and I just, it's like getting good feedback from the commission. So as a result of some of the suggestions from the neighbors, there's an increased evergreen buffer along Scott Swamp from 7 to 8 feet trees to 10 to 12-foot trees. There's going to be a 6-foot privacy fence installed along the CVS and Exxon property and a 4-foot fence along Scott Swamp Road. There's enhanced architectural elevations of the rear of Building E, which backs up to Scott Swamp Road. And the applicant has agreed to restrict trash collection on the weekends and before 8 a.m. on weekdays, which is helpful for the neighbors. We thank the neighbors for their input. We find it beneficial. The outreach is very important to Metro. Also, I want to take a moment to thank staff for helping Metro create a better application, which is before the commission tonight. Their countless hours of participation and feedback were really invaluable. Finally, we want to thank the commission for listening to our presentation this evening. The Metro team has given their best efforts to bring you a remarkable proposal and humbly seek your approval of this application. I'm now going to turn it over to the real experts. Andrea Gomes will lead us off. And without further ado, council, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to Attorney Hoeb. Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Andrea Gomes. I'm an attorney at 20 Church Street in Hartford at Hinckley Allen. I am pleased to be here. I've been before this commission a number of times, but never in person. It was all during COVID, so it's nice humans in a room and to finally be in Farmington Town Hall. I am thrilled today to be here on behalf of Metro, really fortunate in my career to count myself as part of their team. And, you know, Attorney Hoeb had a really wonderful presentation, and I will say meticulous is right. Having worked on a number of Metro proposals and been there for the ribbon cuttings, meticulous is actually the perfect word. So I will echo that. So Attorney Hoeb presented. He had a really exciting presentation. Thank you to the staff, community outreach. I now get to start with procedural housekeeping, so I hope no one falls asleep. I apologize, but I do have to put my lawyer hat on and put a few things onto the record. So starting with that housekeeping, just wanted to note for the record that we did complete the abutter mailing on January 12th, and the sign for the public hearing was posted on the 15th. Proof of both of those measures were provided to staff in advance. We do have the newspaper notification published twice in the paper. And of course, the proposed regulation and the rezoning were filed with the town clerk in advance of the public hearing. And in fact, well in advance of the 10-day period required by statute. A big thank you to staff for handling that town clerk filing and the newspaper notice as well. As the commission knows, our original application materials were filed in November, but since then we've been hard at work, and we've been working with staff to incorporate a multitude of revisions into the plans, which the commission will hear about tonight. And on January 16th, we submitted a number of supplemental materials, some letters from our experts responding to staff comments, plan revisions, a revised proposed regulation, which I'll get into. And again, the rest of the team will touch on all of this tonight for the commission. Last week, staff, and I'm certainly not speaking for Ms. Rutherford, but staff did circulate their second and presumably to date final review memo with a few outstanding comments and details to be addressed by the Metro team, but with an overall agreement that those outstanding comments could be imposed by this commission as an approval condition. So we count that as a win, given how detailed this Farmington town staff is, which we greatly appreciate. That staff memo, which the commission should have, also confirmed the sewer connection fee and provided next steps for the sewer permit agreement, which of course Metro was very familiar with. Responses and revisions that provided by staff, a big thank you to staff. We always enjoy working with staff, especially Farmington Farmington staff to revise these plans. We think we end up with a better plan in the long run as a result. So we're happy to have incorporated those comments into the materials. We do have a PowerPoint presentation for the commission, as you'll see. Ms. Rutherford has it on the screen. We submitted them to staff in advance into the record. And as always, our team has tried to put together a comprehensive yet efficient presentation, as we are well aware of the time. And as you said, Madam Chair, that the commission is comprised of volunteers. I too sit on a commission, so I understand and appreciate that greatly. So with that, I'm going to dive in. Shannon, can you go to slide 3, please? Yes. Thank you. And just so the commission sees, this was supposed to be up during Attorney Hoeb's. I apologize if it wasn't before. That was just an aerial of the site. But here we have a rendered version of the plan. So we're here tonight because Metro is proposing the redevelopment of the property with a multifamily community consisting of 62 apartments in 5 buildings. That's comprised of 26 one-bedroom apartments, 34 two-bedroom apartments, and 2 three-bedroom apartments, ranging from 800 to 930 square feet for the one-bedrooms, 1,070 to 1,280 for the 2 bedrooms, and 1,500 for the 3-bedroom apartment units. I do just want to know, I believe that there was a typo. The site itself is about 5.48 acres, not 5.8, but that's neither here nor there. The apartment homes, as with all of Metro's properties, will be of high quality construction, stainless steel appliances, walk-in closets, in-unit washers and dryers, and granite countertops, just to name a few. There is, and I'll get to the affordability plan in just a moment, but there is a list of minimum specifications that the commission has in our affordability plan, which provides what the commission can expect with these units. The additional details on the site layout, the buildings, will be touched on by Mr. Daly and the rest of the team shortly. And as the commission knows, this is an 830G application, which again, putting the lawyer hat on, I will certainly go through in detail in just a moment. But I would be remiss if, while talking about this plan, I didn't at least touch on the partnership between Metro and FAVAR, or the Arc of Farmington Valley, with this particular property. As the commission may know, FAVAR is a nonprofit dedicated to providing services to folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And the goal with this particular community is to preserve 14 units as supportive housing for FAVAR clients. And I just want to be clear, supportive housing is different than assisted housing, which you're going to hear about. The assisted housing is the definition under Connecticut General Statutes 830G. That has to do with the affordability. The supportive housing are going to be those units in partnership with FAVAR for those folks with disabilities. But again, you'll hear shortly from the rest of the team on that. And I believe Kyle will go into that in his presentation. And lastly, before I go into the legalities of 830G specifically, I did want to take just a moment to touch on school children or school-aged children. Connecticut courts are very clear that the consideration of the impacts of additional students on a school system is not a valid basis for denial of an 830G. But the commission is likely interested, as many commissions are, on the potential number of school-age children that you would see with a community of this size. And typically when we're asked to estimate that, we look at 2 things. We look at something called the Rutgers study, which comes out of Rutgers University and is generally the industry standard for estimating the number of school-age children in multifamily communities. And then we also, when able, compare the numbers of school-age children in similar communities in the same municipality. So we were able to do that here based on the Rutgers study. We're estimating approximately 12 to 14 school-aged children in this community. And then when you look at other similar Farmington communities, that number is more around 16. So the commission can expect somewhere between, we'll say 12 to 16 school-age children. Overall, a relatively minimal impact on the school system, but again, not a public health or safety concern. So Shannon, next slide, please. Thank you. So as the commission knows, this is one application and it is done in 3 parts. It's a zoning regulation amendment to add section 25D, the Scott Swamp Road Opportunity Zone, or the SSROZ, to govern the proposed use, a rezoning of just this site to the SSROZ and a simultaneous site plan approval. There are also some collateral approvals involved with a community like this, one of them being ultimately the wetlands permit, as there are wetlands on site, and we did receive that from the Farmington Wetlands Commission on January 7th, so we've checked that box. And then again, you'll hear shortly from the team. We will also, after we get hopefully our zoning approval, we'll have to go to DOT and get a zoning encroachment permit, or an encroachment permit, excuse me, after the zoning approval, but you'll hear more about that. So going back to really the crux of my presentation here on the affordability, the application, as I mentioned, was filed under Connecticut General Statutes 830G, which is Connecticut's Affordable Housing Land Use Appeals Act. And it was filed as an assisted housing application, meaning it will be financed, at least in part, by a governmental program. And here it will be the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program. 830G provides for an assisted housing application that if the proposed community will be built and administered with government financial assistance, and the applicant agrees to follow the financing program's rules regarding preserving homes for moderate or low income housing, then the development qualifies as assisted housing, and the commission can only deny the application if it receives evidence at the hearing that the development plan will cause a substantial public health or safety issue that outweighs the need for affordable housing in the town and in the region, and also that that concern cannot be addressed by reasonable changes to the plan. It is intentionally a high standard, the public policy for which is the development of more affordable housing. To be clear, 830G, it's an unfortunate number in the statutes because people always think it's Section 8 or they think it's some other type of rental subsidy. It is not that. Mr. Richards will go into that in just a moment. It is a separate statutory program for the development of affordable housing, and it was designed 35 plus years ago to encourage developers just like Metro to develop affordable housing. And in this case, affordable housing that's partly funded by the government. Now, I want to touch just on the proposed regulation amendment, the SSROZ. The commission has that in our original November package, but we did incorporate comments, all of the comments suggested by staff into that regulation, and that was submitted with our January 16 package. The format and the content of the regulation was modeled on Farmington's existing regulations, in particular their affordable housing zones. The affordable housing zone, the housing opportunity district, as well as other 830G based zones that the town has already on the books, including the South Road Opportunity Zone, which I was fortunate enough to work on a number of years ago and previously approved by this commission. The regulation is intended to define precisely what can and cannot be built in the SSROZ. It allows our proposed use, clearly, multifamily residential, and it allows it in compliance with 830G via site plan approval, not special permit, which is inherently or by design discretionary. And because of that 830G standard, there is not supposed to be discretion. So it's not a compatible process for 830G, hence the site plan approval process. We have included in the SSROZ, the commission will note, a variety of provisions on the applicability of the zone, meaning what land can and cannot be rezoned to the SSROZ, including the requirement that the lot be between 4 to 6 acres, located in the South Farmington neighborhood area as defined in the Plan of Conservation and Development and the 2018 addendum there too, and contain a minimum frontage of 300 feet on Scott Swamp Road. So it is intentionally narrow and has been designed and crafted for this particular site. We've also included a variety of zone-specific dimensional standards to govern the use, maximum density and maximum height, 40 feet, for example. Where possible, we made reference to Farmington's existing regulations, or we just copied them in to the regulation itself and tweaked the provisions as needed to fit our plan. For example, our signage and our lighting provisions refer simply to the existing regulations that the town has. We've also included minimum standards for the affordability of an SSROZ development, including the requirement that an applicant submit an affordability plan, which we did with our November package. And the plan sets forth essentially the rules for administering the affordable units in an SSROZ development. And that's at tab 6 of our November application. Now, the site-specific application is required here because the development requires a combination of use and dimensional rules and affordability requirements that are not currently provided for in the regulations. As I mentioned, these regulations are specifically tailored to these sites. So if you were to look at other 830G zones already on the books, they don't quite fit ours, and that's by design. The Connecticut courts are very clear. This is not spot zoning, and it is a legally permissible process. It also is legally permissible, if we wanted to not comply with the zoning regulations at all. We could have simply, and I have done that in a number of towns for various reasons, but you can simply come in with a site plan application without having to comply with the existing or the underlying zoning regulations. And the commission is still held to that public health and safety standard. In many situations, like the situation here, that 3-part process is a cleaner approach because it actually gives us those standards in the regulations in perpetuity. It's clear for both staff, for the commission, for the applicant, what is and is not allowed for the development. It's just easier to have those rules on the books. And this 3-part process that I was just discussing, it's been used successfully over the last 35 years in about 60 towns. And frankly, that number is probably higher at this point. So it's tested and true. Now, with our November application materials, the commission, I'm sure, was thrilled to have received a pretty thick PDF or a pretty thick booklet entitled Our Affordable Housing Needs Memorandum. And in that memo, we documented the need in Farmington and in the region. I think we even went beyond that into the state of Connecticut and just nationally for affordable housing. About 30% of Farmington residents are cost burdened, meaning they spend more than 30% of their income on housing, and that's according to Farmington's affordable housing plan. The 2024 report that we included in our memo from the Partnership for Strong Communities show that 48% of renters in Farmington are cost burdened compared to 23% of homeowners. In the greater Hartford area, which includes Farmington, of course, a 40-hour per week worker has to earn about $32 per hour to afford just a basic 2-bedroom apartment. But the estimated mean hourly wage in this area is only $20.30. So there's quite a gap there between working and achievable housing at this point. The point being, the reason we provided all this information to the commission, in addition to being important to the evaluation of an 830G application, is to highlight, and I'm sure the commission is aware of this, that the housing crisis is in our backyard. You hear about it in the news. It seems to be a bit of a national problem, but it's happening right here in Connecticut, right here in Farmington. Now, I do want to commend the town of Farmington for everything it has done to date to create and provide and encourage affordable housing. I certainly don't want to discount that, especially in partnership with developers like Metro, but we still need more. We still have more work to do. And the 2018 POCD addendum acknowledges the need for affordable housing. And of course, this plan, as does the affordable housing plan from 2021, and this plan helps further those goals. I do want to note on the Department of Housing's 2024 10% list, which is the list that's currently in effect. The 2025 list won't come out for a little bit of time yet. Farmington was at 8.88% of its dwelling units are affordable. So this means, again, if I could, I'd clap for Farmington. This means that Farmington's ahead of about 75% of other municipalities, but you're not quite there yet. And again, we are hopeful that this will help Farmington get closer to its goal. Lastly, I did want to highlight before I hand it over to Mr. Richards, the various letters of support that were submitted into the record. You heard from Attorney Hoeb about the significant work that Metro did and always does to engage the community, especially the neighborhood around the subject property. And we are fortunate enough to have received several letters of support in the record, some from Farmington businesses, including Mr. McPhee, the owner of Falcon LTD and McPhee Electric right on Scott Swamp Road. And then we also have a number of letters from Favar parents. I won't read them into the record, of course, but greatly encourage the commission to review those letters if it hasn't already. The parents speak very highly of Favar, of course, but also repeatedly highlight the transformative effect of independent integrated living on their disabled adult children. Several of those letters conclude with excitement and a hopeful wish that the Scott Swamp Road community will allow other parents to feel that same sense of peace for their children. And I do want to just quote, one of them read, peace of mind and thriving in homes of their own, integrated into the community, living with dignity and independence. That's precisely why Metro is partnering with Favar on this community. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Richards on behalf of Metro.
Thank you, Attorney Gomes. Good evening, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. My name is Kyle Richards, for the record, from Metro Realty Group. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight with what we feel is a very important application for mixed income housing within the town of Farmington. I recognize that this is the first full meeting of the new commission, and many of you are probably unfamiliar with some of our firm's work in town, particularly as it relates to affordable housing. But we've had the privilege of, over the last 30 years, to have been involved in the development of 5 income restricted communities within Farmington, which we own and manage to this day. So it all started with Heritage Glen in 1994. 68 apartments, 60% affordable, located on Route 6, just west of Fenneman Road. You know, I was thinking on the drive over here, I imagine when Jeff was in a room like this 32 years ago, getting this approved, this application for mixed income housing was probably met with some skepticism. But again, 30 years later, and these are recent photos of this community, I think we can all agree that it stood the test of time. We're very proud of the fact that due to significant reinvestment and proper upkeep, the outside world really has no idea that it's mainly affordable. And I think that's the intention. Next slide, please, Shannon. That's another shot of rear patios at Heritage. One more slide. Westwoods was next in 1996, 100% affordable 34 apartments located on Route 6, just west of 177. Next slide, please. The Village at Hunter's Ridge. This was 51 apartments in 1999, 100% affordable, located off of Railroad Avenue in Unionville. Next slide, please. This is the Village at Yorkshire. So this is located just outside the Yukon Health Center at the intersection of Munson and Middle Roads. It's 91 apartments, 75% affordable. Next slide, please. And presently under construction is Trailside. And this is 90 apartments, 80% affordable, located on New Britain Avenue, just north of Route 6. And we're nearing a completion of construction here. I think it's scheduled for April, and we're entirely leased with 4 apartments available last I checked. So to give you a sense of the demand and the reception that this particular community has received, we had over 800 inquiries before we even began leasing for this development that's nearing completion. Next slide, please. This is another shot, and again, I apologize for the snow, but you know, I think it demonstrates that the property looks well. And you know, we have 30 employees in our company that are really the unsung heroes. They're the ones who are responsible, and they take great pride in the day-to-day operations and the upkeep. And we really think it shows. Next slide, please. All right, so I'd like to take a few minutes to review the financing and affordability of the proposed community. And bear with me, this is a little bit technical, but I think it's very important in understanding the structure of these communities, who occupies them, and how they're ensured to be maintained properly over the long term. So every community that we've constructed in Farmington, every affordable community, has been constructed and financed through the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program, which I'll refer to as LIHTC or LIHTC. So this LIHTC program was created through the Tax Reform Act of 1986, and it was voted into law for two reasons. The first was to create additional supply of affordable housing. But secondly, it was done to kind of shift towards private development more so than public housing. Flash forward 40 years, and the LIHTC program has created over 3.7 million housing units, and is one of the few programs that has broad bipartisan support. So how does the program work? I think to understand the program, it's critical to know this point. Whether you're constructing a market rate community or an affordable one, the cost of construction is virtually the same. The land pricing doesn't change. The third-party professionals charge the same amount. The cost and quality of the construction is not different. In fact, the finishes in our affordable apartments are identical to those at the market that are market rate. But what is different are the rents charged. Because affordable apartments have restricted rents, which greatly reduce the overall income, the community cannot support traditional financing to fund construction. That's where the tax credits come into play. These are federal tax credits that are awarded at the state level in a highly competitive process to affordable communities that best meet the state's priorities. Those tax credits are then sold by the developers to private banks, insurance companies, generally organizations with large predictable tax obligations. And it's the sale of those tax credits that provides the necessary funding to fill the gap to fill the cost gap in building the development. So we often hear the words like HUD, Section 8 housing, public housing, with the implication that there is some sort of rental assistance with these type of developments. This is false. The LIHTC program is not a rental assistance program. Residents almost universally work, and they're required to pay their rent. They're income certified, background checked, and provide landlord references in the same manner like any other resident. Okay, next slide, please. So that was the program and how it's funded. Let's talk about the affordability and, most importantly, who the residents are. So along with the tax credits comes a commitment to affordability. We're proposing that roughly 20% of the apartments are market rate and 80% are affordable. The affordability commitment will be for 50 years through a recorded land use restriction. And there's a 15-year tax credit compliance period in addition, during which there's direct oversight from the IRS, Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, and the Department of Housing. So the affordable apartments will be reserved primarily for households earning between 50 and 80% of area median income. There will be some apartments reserved for 30% AMI, with those primarily being occupied by the individuals with intellectual disabilities through our supportive service partner, FAVAR, which I will explain in greater detail momentarily. Next slide, please, Shannon. So to give you a sense here, the maximum monthly affordable rents range from $546 to $1,734 for a one-bedroom, and $636 to $2,061 for a two-bedroom. To give you a sense, next slide, please, Shannon, how much lower those rents are than the comparable new construction rents for market rate communities presently leasing within Farmington right now. The attached chart shows and compares the 50% AMI rents to those marketed at Olmsted, which is the community at 80 Batterson, and Uphouse, which is the conversion of the Marriott on Farm Springs Road. So to just take a couple lines here, if you look at the 50% AMI rent at 20, proposed to be at 20 Scott Swamp, just over $1,000. A one-bedroom at Olmsted is presently being marketed for $2,885. Up House is $2,500, roughly $1,500 more than the 50% AMI rent at Scott Swamp. If you look at the two-bedroom 80% AMI, the proposed rent in Scott Swamp is just over $2,000, $2,061. Olmsted is presently marketing their two bedrooms at almost $1,700 higher than that, at $3,700 a month, and Up House is at $2,900 a month. Next slide, please. So to talk about the income limits, the income restrictions range from 26,610 to 70,960 for a single person household, and between $30,390 and $81,040 for a two-person household. The cost of housing has absolutely skyrocketed in recent years, as you all know. And this 30 to 80% AMI cohort really is one of the most cost burdened. Attorney Gomes mentioned it earlier, but I'll mention it again. This stat also really caught my eye. While Farmington has a very high median income, the 2025 Data Haven study that she referenced, where 26% of residents are cost burdened, I think it's important to note that's almost 3,000 households. That's 3,000 households within Farmington that are presently contributing more than 30% of their gross pay towards housing and housing related costs. Almost 3,000 houses. Next slide, please. So 20 Scott Swamp is shown with the yellow arrow at the top right corner, is very well located. It's located just northeast of one of the most important employment hubs in this town. As you know, Farmington has an incredible commercial base. You know, it really is the envy of other towns that surround it. There are 30,986 jobs in Farmington. It's one of the few towns in which more people work than live. And we feel strongly that if we want these companies to remain and to continue to grow in this area, we must provide their employees with local, modern, and affordable housing. Trumpf, Stanley Access Technologies, Connecticut, Mott, the industrial users on Spring Lane are all in close proximity to this proposed community. As part of your packet, there are 2 letters of support from important employers that are presently growing in Farmington. FIP Construction and McPhee Electric both cite that modern housing will support their recruitment efforts and expand the commercial base. Next slide, please. To further the notion that the proposed development will support the local economy and employers, I thought you might be interested in knowing more about the employment profile of the affordable residents at Trailside. Of the affordable apartments leased, 100% of the residents have full-time employment. While maintaining confidentiality, of course, but trying to put a face on the residents, here are some of the employment details. So we have an office assistant at a local hospital. We have an assembler at Stanley Works, a special education teacher at a local public school, a machine operator at a tool shop not far from the development, a teacher's aide at a regional school for the deaf, another office manager at a steel fabricator, and a personal care assistant for a healthcare organization. You know, these are very important jobs, and these residents now have an apartment that they can be proud of at a rent that is more in line with what their income can justify. Next slide, please. And perhaps the most important part of the resident base that we're proposing here for you tonight, as part of this community, we are reserved 14 of the affordable apartments for individuals with intellectual disabilities. As Attorney Gomes mentioned, supportive housing through a partnership with Favar. Favar is a Canton-based service provider who I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with. But the relationship with Metro and Favar spans almost 2 decades. As Favar actually first pioneered this style of living that we're proposing for you tonight in one of Metro's developments in Avon. It's called Old Farms Crossing. Supportive housing is an initiative through the Department of Developmental Services, DDS, to identify intellectually disabled individuals who have the skills to live independently, with limited supports provided on site by FAVAR. FAVAR will have an office on site where their staff can provide assistance to the residents if needed and when required. IDD residents do not drive, so FAVAR coordinates transportation for these residents primarily for work, but for also other personal trip needs. The FAVAR apartments will include assistive technology to enhance their residents' ability to live independently. And ultimately, supportive housing provides these individuals who might otherwise be living in a group home or with a family member the ability to gain independence and responsibility. Beyond the fiscal benefits, which are significant, supportive housing enables more adults with IDD to move out of their family homes at a younger age, live in an integrating setting alongside other neighbors who don't have disabilities. The result is not just better outcomes for those individuals, but a stronger and more diverse community for everyone, and we strongly believe in this. The need for supportive housing persists. As I mentioned, 1600 New Britain Avenue Trailside, I believe we had 20 apartments reserved for residents of FAVAR. They're already receiving additional interest beyond the availability of that community. I'll touch on the letters. I hope you've read them. I cannot even begin to articulate the significance of this model for these families. So I'll just say that I hope that you had a chance to read through the roughly 10 letters in your packet from parents. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's the profile of the residents and the affordability. Now let's move on to the parcel. So 20 Scott Swamp is located in the South Farmington neighborhood as defined in your POCD, about 1 mile north of the Plainville town line. Next slide, please. You've already seen this slide, but just very briefly to reiterate, the subject parcel is 5.48 acres. To the west, you have an Exxon Mobil gas station and Dunkin' Donuts convenience store. To the east, you have a CVS pharmacy. South of Scott Swamp Road, you have some residential homes. Next slide, please. This is a photo of the existing former Touch Points facility that presently exists on the site. It's 40,000 square feet. It's a single-story structure with a basement, and it was constructed in 1980. As Attorney Hoeb noted, it was the Touch Points facility through August of 2023, and it was permanently closed at that time. Next slide, please. So the building is functionally obsolete, and as is the case with buildings that stay vacant for extended periods of time, there's no way to go around it. It's fallen into significant disrepair. Water intrusion primarily through the failing roof have really wreaked havoc, as you can see with just a snippet of some of the photos, with the mold and the collapsing of the ceiling. It's our opinion that this structure cannot be salvaged and should be demolished. Next slide, please. Okay, now on to the community. We are proposing 62 apartments in 5 buildings, as I mentioned, on a 5.48 acre site. There are 26 one-bedrooms being proposed, 34 two-bedrooms, and 2 3-bedrooms at the request of FAVAR to be designated as supportive housing occupied by FAVAR residents. There are 90 parking spaces, and the regulation provides for the ability to reduce the parking requirement when there are alternative means of transportation for some of the residents. So as mentioned, the development will include 14 units of supportive housing. These individuals do not drive, and transportation is provided by FAVAR. There's private outdoor space for every apartment, either by way of a patio or an outdoor deck. And there are both 2-story, we'll get into this momentarily, but there are both 2-story buildings with direct entrances, and there's a 3-story building with an elevator, with elevator access. High-end apartment finishes, which we'll show you shortly. And to put a kind of a cap on this, we really feel strongly that this is smart development. And if you think about it, We're taking a very well located, already developed site with utilities, access to transportation and amenities, and replacing the existing footprint of the obsolete structure. We're not really, as Tom Daly, a professional engineer, will get into shortly, we're not expanding upon the development footprint, but we're taking the footprint of the obsolete structure and development and replacing it with modern style housing that we really feel like will endure. With that, I'll stop and I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Tom Daly, a professional engineer from SLR. He'll present the site in more detail.
Thank you, Kyle. Yes, for the record, Tom Daly with SLR Consulting, a professional engineer licensed in the state of Connecticut. We're excited to be part of this team. I guess, Shannon, next slide. I'd like to start off, the group before me has done a nice job in terms of giving you the overall context of the site, but get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of the site we have. So on this site is our survey that we conducted before we started design. We have Scott Swamp that's located at the bottom of the map, and up on the upper left is Route 6. Just to give you from a topographic standpoint, Scott Swamp is really the highest portion of the site. So Scott Swamp varies a little bit, but it's about elevation 183. The finished floor of the existing building just drops down slightly to about 181. But that whole kind of development plateau was flattened out probably when they built the project. After the rear back of the parking lot, the topography continues to drop off towards Scott Swamp. Not a lot, but it generally drops off to the point where Shannon is pointing, that's the lowest portion of the site. So that's elevation 168. So even across the entire site, you're seeing less than 20 feet of elevation change. If you had to give yourself a little bit of a context, about 50% of the site is developed, about 50% of the site is undeveloped. The rear portion of the site is undeveloped. And just to give you a context, it's about a 150-foot vegetated buffer between the back edge of that parking lot and Route 6. So fairly dense buffer through there, both through topography and vegetation. In the area back there is much larger trees, not a lot of understory, but it's a very deep buffer. You can also see there's a kind of a gray blob there. That's a wetland. I'm sorry, Shannon, to the right. The wetland scientists went out there, and essentially it's actually a drainage discharge. There's a pipe that picks up Scott Swamp, and the neighborhood area actually then picks up CVS drainage and heads off into this area. And it's a small wetland in there, and a lot of the water actually infiltrates and kind of polishes, but ultimately there's a high level overflow that there's a large diameter pipe that goes under Scott Swamp and heads off to the north. As it was indicated, it's about 5.5 acres. So once again, about 50% wooded, 50% there is some existing storm drainage on site. There's two. As I said, the CVS takes and Scott Swamp comes off of one pipe. We're actually not tying into that pipe. And then there's a second pipe that goes towards Route 6 and has a standard pipe and catch basin system. As part of the wetlands application, we did actually throw a camera down both of those pipes and found out they're actually in excellent condition. Next slide. So the proposal before you this evening is for 5 new buildings. We're coming off of Scott Swamp in essentially the same exact location. We meshed that curb cut. It made a lot of sense. As you come into the community, there'll be a large, or not large, but well-distributed parking. I think I like this parking layout. Essentially, it's not like we just stuck 30 parking spaces in the back corner. It's really well distributed. There's parking essentially in front of every unit with a very short walk. You can see in the light yellow there's a sidewalk system that links up everybody through there. And also as part of this application, we will be installing a new sidewalk across Scott Swamp, connecting to the 2 other sidewalks that are on our perimeter. So it'll ultimately make a full sidewalk connection throughout the community. We have 90 parking spaces as Kyle indicated. Also part of that is our standard ADA parking. We also have EV identified parking spaces. To be honest with you, the EV parking is a little bit of the Wild West right now. We're still trying to figure that out, but Metro will be putting the infrastructure in to allow those EV parking spaces to exist. We also at the far, if you see the large building on the right, we have a flat community space, kind of an outdoor lawn area, and that would be available for the community residents. The project is being served by both public water and public sewer. We received a letter from the water company that they have sufficient capacity to serve the site. We will be bringing new water main into the property and actually have hydrants located throughout the property. Essentially, we're not except for any utilities that are out there today are essentially going to be replaced. And so all new infrastructure is going to be put in, but we are taking advantage of the storm drainage pipe that ultimately comes out. Next slide. One of the things that we worked on too is a robust landscaping plan. And as you can see here, so we're proposing as part of this application, certainly we're proposing approximately 117 trees and evergreens. And some of those evergreens are highly focused at the front door of the property. And part of that too was also based upon some input from the neighborhood. So along the frontage of Scott Swamp and wrapping around to the CVS and all towards the Exxon, we are providing a very robust landscape buffer that will be a combination of both evergreen and deciduous trees, native species. So you'll see on the left, we have arborvitae, we have blue spruce, we have white spruce, red maples, and amelanchier, creating a really a dense and a variety of vegetated buffer there. As based upon an input from the neighborhood, we actually upgraded the size of all those trees. Our traditional evergreens are 6 to 8 feet. There was a recommendation by the neighbors to see if we can include that. So those evergreen species have been enlarged to 10 and 12 foot, and the arborvitaes are 5 to 6 foot. We also have along the frontage of the property will be, as Chris Ho indicated, would be more of a farm fence, a horse farm fence, a white vinyl fence to kind of show a nice definition there. That's an architectural element that if you drive through most of Metro properties, it's kind of a common element. We're also putting a 6 foot high vinyl screen fence along the CVS property and along the ExxonMobil, as we have that kind of interface between commercial and residential properties there. As part of this application, essentially, we are mimicking that same approach, 50% open space, 50% 50% wooded area, 50% development. We really don't encroach past the limit of what was developed as part of that. We're doing some slight clearing to the rear, but if you go out there today, that was clearly an area that was excavated and built as part of that, because it's kind of a rolls off the back and through there. Next slide. As part of this application, so we went through the wetlands application process, and I think if you listen to the record, and it was very well received. And part of that well received was the fact that we listened to them. They came back and kind of pushed us a little bit and took another look at the plans. And a couple of things that happened there was we pulled back, and where Shannon has the mouse cursor there, the commission asked us if we could go back to the drawing board and pull away from the wetlands there. We went ahead and we put a retaining wall in there and created additional buffer there. We're actually going to go back into the wetlands. There's deferred maintenance that has happened at the 2 outfalls. A lot of sediment has come off the property from the DOT road. We're going to work with town staff. We're going to scoop that up. We're going to clean it out. And basically, like I said, deferred maintenance that hasn't occurred. Any storm drainage needs. At the other outflow, there's a sediment at that pipe too. So we're going to do some deferred maintenance. The green area there will be put into a permanent conservation restriction. And also part of the town's requirements, we'll put markers all along that perimeter so people know what they're going into. And if you go out there today, that's really where the true woods, there's, large diameter trees, and that's kind of natural, not to mention the wetlands there. It acts as a natural kind of cleansing of the stormwater coming off the DOT. The one thing I do enjoy about working on these particular properties is I get to turn back the clock. This property was designed at a time where stormwater management quality was not really a priority for us. All we cared about was that there was no more water going off the property, and water quality was kind of a not something. Here we are in 2026. The DEP updated their stormwater quality in 2024 and kind of picked up where they are. But I really like these projects because I get a chance to take another shot at it. The existing project has no water quality features. This project will have multiple best management practices. So ultimately, we'll take the roof leaders from the buildings, but we'll send those through a hydrodynamic separator. That's our first level defense. And then you can see this gray area in the middle there. That's actually for water quality. It's putting the water back into there. The DEP is recommending that you treat the first 1.3 inches of rainfall, and that's what is happening there. And then ultimately, it discharges back to there. But by putting that infiltration, what are we doing? We're slowing the water down. We're cooling it down. You think about a hot day, that first water comes off the pavement's hot. Now it'll get to go off there. And we do have a very important water resource, right? Scott Swamp off to the north. So that water quality will improve. And also we're filtering out any type of sediment or any debris, and it'll be owned and maintained by Metro Realty on that part. The site itself is actually fairly, as I said, it's fairly level. So we're not a lot of earthwork that's going there. The buildings there, as I said, the existing building has a finished floor about 181. We're at 181.5. So once again, we're not trying to fight the topography, we're working with it. In terms of construction sequence, the first thing that happens is they have to go out and abate the building, and then we'll demolish it. And then ultimately they'll build, and ultimately on a project of this size, it will be built in generally one phase. It's pretty small. Now it's a rolling phase. They start a foundation, they move on to the next foundation, move on to this next foundation. But in terms of overall infrastructure, quite a simple project. But we continue to be part of Metro's team throughout construction and review their submittals and assist them during construction phase. With that, I would like to say on the record, though, it's my professional opinion that this project has sufficient sewer capacity, water capacity. We've done circulation routes for the fire truck to get in and out of the property and around the circulation. Works well. We have some town comments that they're asking us to tweak it a little bit and take another look at that. We're happy to do that. We've worked our way through one round of town comments. We have a second round of comments. I've reviewed all those comments, and I think it's a lot of details and labels on the plans for construction, almost kind of moving towards construction level plans. But it's my professional opinion that we can easily address all those comments, and the plan that's being presented to you this evening will not change as a result of addressing those comments. Just want to tell you, we're not being asked to move buildings or change the driveway entry. It's really about doing the fine details. But with my opinion is I believe we've addressed all the safety concerns associated with the project, and I'm excited to be part of it. Thank you.
Would you mind going to the next slide, Shannon? So this is getting into the architecture and the building and the interiors of the apartments. This is architecture that you may be familiar with. As Tom mentioned, we're proposing 5 buildings. 4 of the 5 buildings will have 2-story walk-up with direct entrances like you're looking at on your screen, what we like to call home-style living. And then there will be 1 building that will be 3 stories, 3-story walk-up with an elevator. Next slide, please, Shannon. So the 2-story buildings, this is an image of a recently constructed building that we completed in Berlin at a development called Littlebrook. But this originated at Hunter's Ridge in Unionville. And really, this is the same elevation as Hunter's Ridge, which we think presents quite nicely. But the interior of the apartments have been enhanced tremendously. They're more open, they're larger, and of course the finishes are much nicer. Next slide, please. So this is an architectural elevation colored of the building that you were just looking at, a photo of, and it's a colonial design. So this particular building has 8 apartments, and they're what we call stacked flats. So you have a single story apartment on the ground floor, and then you have a private staircase that to the extent you live on the second floor gets you to your apartment. So direct entrances, you don't share any common elements within the building with any other residents. Again, these are all colonial design elements, pitched gabled roofs, lap siding. Every resident will have their own private patio or deck porch, however you want to characterize it. And we went with a very similar siding, a sterling gray siding, black shutters, a traditional red brick skirt. We're very confident that this is something we've built before and something that we think will look quite well. There are 2 of those 8-unit buildings. Next slide, please. So this is an elevation for a 12-unit building, and this building is identical to the 8, but slightly larger and includes 4 more apartments. This building was the one that is alongside Scott Swamp. So the rear of the building faces Scott Swamp, and one of the comments, and I think it was a very thoughtful comment from a neighbor on Farmstead Lane, was that, look, we understand that this is the rear of the building, but could you perhaps add some architectural enhancement to not make it look like a back of house, make it look like it's kind of the front of the building, even though we know it's the rear. So we dressed it up, we added some gables. I think it enhanced it and it presents quite well, but this was the building that was referenced that changed a bit due to some commentary from a stakeholder across the street. Next slide, please. And this is the last of the 2-story buildings. This is 6 units, and the ground floor apartments will be Favar units, and then there will be 4 apartments on the second floor. Again, very similar design, single story flat on the first floor, and then to the extent there's a second floor apartment, you would have your own private staircase. Next slide, please. So this is the largest building. This is the 28-unit 3-story building, and this one is on the east side of the parcel. It backs up to the CVS. So the rear of the building faces the CVS parcel. And this building, if you're familiar with the residences at 299 at all, this presents extremely similarly to how those buildings are. It's a very similar architectural design. Doesn't have garages on the ground floor, but for all intents and purposes, it's not materially different. We have on this building, we did an entire floor of red brick accent, but again, the siding and the shutters are all the same. Actually, I think the shutters are only on the side of this building, maybe, are the same color as the previous 4. And this building, I think it's important because it's got an elevator in it, and there are people who have ambulatory issues who do not want to live on the second floor. They want to live on the second or on the first floor, rather. They'd rather live on a higher floor, but maybe have trouble doing the stairs. So this has an elevator. It's a good option for those residents. And this is the building in which the Favar office will be, on the ground floor. So of the 28 apartments, a portion of them will be Favar residents. Not all of the apartments will be Favar residents. It'll be a nice mixture of Favar, market rate, other affordable. But I wanted to note to you that on the ground floor there is where the office for Favar is proposed to be. Like the first 4 buildings, every unit in the 3-story building has outdoor space. All right, keep on going. I know it's getting late. Very briefly on the floor plans, just to give you a quick example of how they present. The red arrow to orient you is entering in the front door. This is a 1-bedroom. You have an open living room, kitchen with a center island, washer and dryer in the apartment. bedroom with a bathroom off the bedroom, walk-in closet, and then in the rear there, a private patio space. Next slide, please. So this is a sample 2-bedroom. It's almost identical to the one, of course, but with a second bed and bath. So it's a 2-bath. Presents very similarly. Again, washer dryer in the apartment, walk-in closet, rear patio space for every apartment, and 2 bathrooms that kind of orient to each bedroom. And these are photos. So these are identical apartments that we've constructed in other communities, and I'll go through them quickly, but this is a living room shot. Another living room shot. Here's the shot of the kitchen. As I said, there's a center island, stainless steel, granite countertops. And again, this is the standard across the entire community, regardless of the renter or the affordability of the apartment. Every apartment has the same exact construction quality and finish. Next slide, please. Bedroom with, I'm jealous of that closet with a walk-in closet. It's nicer than the one I have. Next slide, please. Washer and dryer in every apartment. And here's a shot of a bathroom with solid surface countertops, tile floors, you know, a modern style bathroom. Okay, before I hand it over to Mr. Bertucci for the findings from his traffic impact report, I just wanted to note that we strive to hit sustainability and energy efficient targets. And the standard that we seek to hit in these developments is the National Green Building Standard, and it's the platinum level. I don't expect you to know what that is, but it reflects more than just building performance. It's sustainable building practices, such as material sourcing, recycling of construction waste, etc. Every apartment will have balanced ventilation, high efficiency heating, cooling, hot water systems in every apartment, and a home energy rating system, HERS rating, which is 35% more efficient than the Energy Star standard. We'll also have solar on one of the buildings that will power all of the common elements. I think that's everything. All right. And with that, I know it took a while for me to get through that, but I'm going to hand it over to Mark Bertucci, professional traffic engineer from the firm of Fuss and O'Neill.
Thanks, Kyle, and good evening. I'm Mark Bertucci. I'm the senior transportation engineer at Fuss and O'Neill. We're located at One Financial Plaza in Hartford. I'm also a registered professional engineer in Connecticut and a registered professional traffic operations engineer through ITE. We did prepare a traffic impact study. I just want to briefly describe our findings for you this evening. Just again to orient you to the site here, Route 6 running southwest to northeast there. As Shannon's showing you, Route 10 Main Street running north-south, and then Scott Swamp Road connecting the two. Scott Swamp is a state-owned and maintained road, State Route 522. It's an unmarked state route. So all the roads in our immediate study area are owned and maintained by ConnDOT. The site driveway there in the middle will tie in approximately 415 feet to the east of Route 6. So it's out of the influence of that intersection, out of the influence of the queuing that occurs on Scott Swamp approaching the signal. We did review 3 intersections in the study area as shown by those green dots. So Scott Swamp at Route 6, Scott Swamp at Route 10, and Scott Swamp at the site driveway. We did conduct turning movement traffic counts at the study intersections. We did that back on October 9th of 2025. And the counts did reveal the morning peak hour of traffic was 8 to 9 a.m. and the afternoon was 4:30 to 5:30. And those generally coincide with our residential peak hours of traffic as well. So we subsequently analyzed those hours for impact, excuse me, for impacts as they're the highest traffic hours of the day. We did then adjust those counts up by a 2% per year growth factor to the 2028 design year, which is when we anticipate this development would ultimately get constructed and opened. We got that growth rate from DOT. We also did add some volumes in from other background generators in the study area. Kyle mentioned 8562 New Britain Avenue apartments. Those are under construction, anticipated to open this year. And the 8774 Scott Swamp Light Industrial Development nearby as well. 22,000 square feet of light industrial also recently approved. We added that traffic as well. Now on the next slide, Shannon, as far as the traffic that this development will generate, we did estimate it by utilizing rates in the ITE, Institute of Transportation Engineers, trip generation manual. This is an industry accepted resource for determining traffic generation for various land uses. For the 62 units, apartment units here, we did use the ITE land use code for multifamily housing low rise, and that yields 35 trips in the morning peak hour and 37 trips in the afternoon peak hour. We do estimate, based on existing volume distribution out there, that about 2/3 of those will come in from Route 6 and 1/3 will come in from Main Street from Route 10. Now, these rates, we consider them pretty conservative because we did not factor in the 14 units of housing that Kyle was describing that are reserved for individuals with disabilities. They won't be driving, so we didn't factor that in to the rates. Also, this is conservative as well in that we did not take any credit for the previous use on the site. 119 bed nursing home was generating traffic in the past, 20 trips in the morning, 26 in the afternoon peak hour. So if you take the net increase there, we're only really increasing the traffic by 15 trips in the morning peak hour and 11 in the afternoon peak hour based on what the site was previously generating. So a very small generator here. Just to put that in perspective, it's one additional trip on the road network every 4 to 5 minutes. So this is a rate of increase in traffic that's not even noticeable to a driver out there in the road network. And it's also well within the daily fluctuations in traffic you would see on the road from a Monday to a Tuesday to a Wednesday. The traffic's fluctuating more than that on a daily basis. On the next slide, again, not to beat a dead horse here, but this is showing you the percent increase in traffic at our study intersections on Route 6 and Route 10. We're talking about the volume of increase is so low that we're talking about 0.1% of traffic that's it's being increased at these intersections during the peak hours. Moving on, we did conduct capacity analysis at our study intersections to determine the impact of this development traffic on the adjacent road network. So what we did is we took our background 2028 traffic volumes without the development. We added in the site generated traffic to get the 2028 combined volumes with the proposed development. And then we conducted a capacity analysis for both of those conditions in each study intersection. So when we do analysis, you may be familiar with this, but the capacity analysis will rate the intersection on a level of service scale, which is a report card type scale from A to F. A is a condition of very low delay, efficient traffic operations. F is a condition of very high delay and driver frustration. Typically, the DOT will consider a level of service D as in dog as your minimal acceptable level of service. Both of the intersections today operate at acceptable levels of service, D or better. There is no change in level of service anticipated in either intersection or any of the approaches at the intersection, any of the lane approaches. None of them experience a decrease in level of service as a result of the proposed development traffic. We also looked at queues, and the queue increases at each intersection were insignificant, 1 to 2 vehicle lengths or less. And as I mentioned, none of these queues back up past the site driveway. We did receive a recommendation from town staff to consider restriping the center line of Scott Swamp Road. This would be to provide for some bypass in the eastbound direction. Basically, the westbound left turn lane on Scott Swamp approaching Route 6 has ample reserve capacity. It's longer than it needs to be. So essentially, the recommendation is to restripe that center line to shorten that left turn lane a bit, which would provide some wider eastbound width at the site driveway to allow a left turning vehicle space to queue up. And then a through vehicle could get past that left turning vehicle because the lane width would be wider. So we have no objection to doing that. But as I mentioned, this being a state road, that would fall under the DOT's purview, and the DOT will be reviewing this during the encroachment permit process. So we could address it with them at that time. We did have some mitigation. Yeah, on the next slide here. We did look at existing operations, and again, while the intersections are operating at acceptable levels of service, we did find some room for improvement with the signal operations. We can tweak some of the green times to make them operate a little bit better than they are today. So at Route 6 in Scott Swamp, additional green time for the left turn from Route 6 onto Scott Swamp will improve that level of service for that approach from an F to an E for that movement. And for Route 10, additional green time for the north-south movements, that level of service for southbound would improve from an F today to an acceptable D in the combined condition. So these timings would improve operations at these intersections independent of our proposed development. These are things that can improve operations just for all traffic today. Just one more thing I wanted to note here regards to safety, which is of course paramount with an 830G application. We did review site distance and crash history. We reviewed the latest 3 years of available crash data from the Yukon Crash Repository. And you can see the results up there on the screen. The types and the frequency of crashes that were reported were not considered abnormal for arterial roadways such as Route 6 or 10. There were no identifiable crash patterns either that could be exacerbated by the proposed development. We also measured intersection sight distance, and the sight distance looking to the left coming out of the driveway was acceptable, exceeded DOT criteria for safe egress. Sight distance looking to the right, as you can see in this picture, was impeded by that bush there, some vegetation that needs to be cleared. So that was a recommendation of our study, and upon the clearing and trimming of that vegetation, that sight distance to the right is also acceptable and will extend all the way out to Route 6. So just to conclude the findings of our study, we are recommending, again, the minor signal timing modifications at Route 6 and Route 10, which we can discuss with DOT during the encroachment permit process. We're recommending the trimming of the vegetation for sightline at the site frontage. And upon implementation of those recommendations, it is our professional opinion that the proposed development will not have a significant impact to traffic operations on the adjacent road network, and the additional traffic can be safely and efficiently accommodated. I did want to note, and I alluded to this, but because we are on a state road, we are doing work in the Scott Swamp Road right-of-way, some driveway work and the clearing of the vegetation. We do have to go in for an encroachment permit to the DOT District 4 office. So they will get a chance to review this. Should you approve this application, that would be our next step, would be to submit that for review. With that, that concludes my presentation. I'll turn it back to Andrea. I think we're done.
Thank you, Mark. Again, for the record, Andrea Gomes, counsel for the applicant. I wasn't lying when I said comprehensive. But hopefully efficient. We were trying to anticipate all questions that the commission might have and give you all the information you needed to hopefully conclude that we have satisfied the 830G standard, and more importantly, are proposing a community that we, as the Metro team and the town, can be proud of. Madam Chair, I just wanted to note one thing. The agenda review that was issued by staff on the 22nd, authored by Ms. Rutherford and her team, does note a couple of suggested approval conditions. They do include the signal timing improvements and restriping, which are, of course, acceptable to the applicant, as is, of course, the vegetation trimming for site distance purposes. With that, Madam Chair, typically what I do at this point, because it is a public hearing and it seems that we do have some members of the public, I will turn it over to you to perhaps ask questions, open to public comment, whatever you see fit. I would just respectfully request that I be allowed some time to conclude at the very end before any action is taken, whether continuance or closing of the public hearing.
Okay, definitely. We'll give you your moment.
Thank you.
Okay. Very comprehensive. Let's start with you, Bob. Questions?
Great presentation. Very comprehensive, as you said. I just jotted down a couple of quick things. It boggled my mind that it's already been 30 years since Metro has already started on these projects. And you wouldn't even, like you say, you wouldn't even know it in town. They do a great job. When would this anticipated start happen? Do we know?
Commissioner Canto, I'm going to ask Kyle Richards to come up and answer that. So I will serve as kind of the referee, if you will, for the questions, and then call up the team as I see fit. Go ahead.
Commissioner Canto, this would be anticipated to start towards the end of 26.
26. Okay. And some of the questions I'm asking, I'm sure we're going to get bombarded with, so I'd like to have the information when people ask. And then what are you anticipating for a timeline on the construction?
Generally between 14 and 18 months from the start to finish.
That's aggressive. Okay. The blasting and the demo and whatever is going to take place to demo the existing building, what are you anticipating for that?
The building can be taken down with just like a front loader, just like a controlled, knocking it down. And it won't require any explosives or any sort of detonation. It'll just be, a front loader.
Excavator type demo.
Yeah, and an excavator. Yep.
And what's the time frame on that roughly?
That process would be under a month.
Okay.
Yeah, under a month to demolish the building and remove it.
Okay. And then I'm assuming you're doing some regrading. Well, you're obviously doing the regrading and fixing on the parking lot. Are you reclaiming that and keeping it on site? Are you totally stripping it and offloading it? How are you handling all the materials that are going to be on site?
I guess we'd be reclaiming it. I'm getting a nod from someone than I did.
That knows. Okay.
Yeah.
And you may not know this. Is there an uptick in calls for service from first responders for FAVAR or any of the type facilities that you've noticed?
Yeah.
Do we want her to come up? Yeah, I think we want her to
Come
come
on
up.
up and-
Sorry, Madam Chair, through you. I'm just going to ask.
Nope, that's okay. Yeah, come on up. Give us your name and
Name and address.
details.
Tricia Nato, Director of Supportive Housing, the Arc of Farmington Valley, 262 Berlin Street, Southington.
And can you just re-answer the question just for the record?
There's generally not a lot of uptick in emergency. I'm not a public speaker, sorry. In emergency calls, we have the same as anybody else does, any other family.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. The lighting did a lot of community research and stuff like that with the neighbors, and I'm glad to see that. The parking lot lighting and the general lighting for the outside, is that gonna be on a timer? Is that gonna be, I'm worried about like light pollution and neighbors calling, oh my God, it's a glaring site over there.
Yeah. So it's a difficult question because there could be a nurse who's going to her vehicle at 2 a.m. and we want the parking lot to be properly lit for her from a safety perspective. We can work with staff about potentially incorporating some sort of dimming mechanism. I will tell you that the subject of lighting did come up as it related to the Exxon station from the family that lived directly across from Exxon. So you're correct, and I did hear that concern. But what I would say is that we could look into some sort of dimmer, but I don't think we would want to shut the lights off entirely.
Agreed. Yeah, for safety purposes. Agreed. Okay.
And Commissioner Canto, there is a photometrics plan in the civil plan set that was submitted to the commission. I just want to make that clear.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay. And then my last question for now, it has to do with the 2-floor living. So you said it's an independent staircase to get up there. Is it an open staircase from the outside, or is there a door that's going to access that staircase to get?
It's a door.
Okay,
It's
so
a locked door, access to a private staircase up to the residence.
perfect. Okay, that gets everything from me. Thank you. Excellent presentation again.
Thank you.
Okay, Phil. Yeah,
Thank you,
cough
Al.
now, and-
And then speak.
Yes.
No, I'll echo the same thing that Commissioner Canto said about the presentation. It was very informative and thorough. I did go through all the material before tonight. I only had a couple of questions left. Really, when it comes to demolition, do we know how long that might take to actually go through that and demolish the building? Current building?
Yep, Commissioner, I'll just repeat what Mr. Richards said. I think he said he estimated about a month to bring the building down.
All right. Will there be any notification to the local residents when that's going to start?
Typically, I don't believe that one's required under the Farmington ordinances, as there's no blasting. It's just the building coming down. But certainly we could work with staff if that's something that the commission was inclined to, just a letter to neighbors if that's something the commission wanted. Not typically required. Certainly the commission can look to Ms. Rutherford.
Okay. One question I have about traffic, and sorry, I'm a former resident of Farmstead Lane, so I'm extremely familiar with that area. When you're trying to turn left out of the facility, it's been challenging in the past because there are 2 lanes and cars do tend to come off Route 6 very quickly and go for the light as quickly as they can, hoping they're going to make it. So it can be difficult to safely turn out of there, especially because there are 2 lanes. So sometimes it's confusing. You want to jump into one lane before you, but a car might move as you're coming over, and it can be a little bit challenging making that turn. Is there any thought that has been put into maybe easing that a little bit, or if there even is anything that could be done to simplify that?
Yeah, I think you're referring to pulling out of the, making a left out of there.
Correct.
Crossing the 2 lanes. So what I was talking about before, actually, the recommendation to restripe that center line is to pull that center line back and shorten the second lane heading west towards Route 6 to allow for some additional width eastbound for that bypass widening. So if they're not a widening bypass area in the eastbound direction. So if that is done, a left turnout would only be crossing 1 lane. It would just be crossing the westbound through lane. So that would be another benefit of doing that.
Yeah, I think that would be a significant improvement, that area. The fence by CVS. Is the CVS fence going to stay? Is that their fence and there'll just be an additional fence near it, or is that?
I want to ask Mr. Daly.
Yeah.
to answer that.
That is their, for the record, Tom Daly, that's their fence. We're going to be putting our fence in front of it.
Okay. That fence has had a lot of challenges staying up.
Well, hence a reason why we want a fence that we can maintain on there. So it'll be a little, yeah, there'll be 2 fences, but we'll own and maintain ours.
Okay. And then My last question, I don't think we actually touched on yet, so I don't know if we can talk about this, but is the text amendment for the SROZ adequate? Is staff happy with it the way it's written?
Yeah, in my opinion, I believe it's adequate, and staff offered comments on the original version. And we have worked extensively both on the prior opportunity zones that have been put forth in the last few years, the South Road Opportunity Zone and the New Brighton Avenue Opportunity Zone. And they've created a nice platform for consistency for these affordable housing zones. So we've ensured that the metrics are the same and they read the same, so that there's consistency as we're looking at our affordable housing zones and these opportunity zones. I believe they cover everything. It seems to cover what's needed within the 8-30G requirement, and it embeds into it, as Attorney Gomes mentioned, there's landscaping that has some nuances particular to the sites, the setbacks to the sites, but it also includes lighting and parking. So in my opinion, yes, I believe it covers everything.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I do appreciate that approach. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. And then just through you, Madam Chair, for the record, from the applicant's perspective, it does what we need it to do, which is providing the applicability of the zone where we can actually develop an SSROZ specifically tailored to the site, the bulk standards, all of the landscaping, signage, et cetera, and then most importantly, the affordability standards. So it accomplishes what we need legally from an 830G perspective. But thank you to Ms. Rutherford for clarifying from staff's perspective, which is just as important.
Great. Thank you. I'm all set.
Great.
Josh.
So first, I also want to commend the applicant and staff for a very thoughtful and thorough application and presentation. I do have a few questions. First, the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, what % of each are reserved for affordable? Is it essentially the same %? Is it more 1 bedroom, 3 bedroom? Like,
I'm going to ask, well, it looks like Mr. Richards or Mr. Tripp. Ben Tripp from Metro will be coming up to answer that.
For the record, Ben Tripp, Metro Realty Group. So generally, the final affordability allocation is determined in concert with the financing source. So these preferences from the state's perspective kind of change subtly from time to time, but typically what we see is 20% market rate, 80% affordable. And on a more granular level, it's 20% at 30% of AMI, 40% at 50% of AMI, 20% at 80% of AMI, and then 20% of market rate. And they're evenly allocated between 1 and 2 bedroom.
okay, thank you very much for the thorough answer. Lots of percentages in that answer.
There'll be a test at the end of the hearing.
I may not pass. Just other quick comment. I thought the wetlands work was very well done with inland wetlands. Appreciate the decision to put the rear development portion into conservation easement, and the signage I think is a nice addition as well. So appreciate that. I thought that the town staff's requests to work with DOT was great. A question on that, the striping though, whether there's room enough, or if it would be your request, obviously subject to DOT, but would you actually be planning to put in a left turn lane into the facility for the eastbound traffic? You said sort of widen it, and it seemed like you were suggesting kind of have like either a shoulder passing or like an extra wide lane. I wasn't sure if you, my thought would be just as much as we could actually have either a turn lane or, I don't know.
Yeah, so this being a private driveway, the DOT typically doesn't like to see a full turn lane particularly for something with this low volume. So they typically like to see a bypass width. So adequate bypass is basically having between 20 and 22 feet of roadway width from the center line to the edge of pavement. And that includes the shoulder area. Basically, they encourage the use of the shoulder area for the through vehicle to bypass left turn a vehicle waiting to go into the site. So that's what we would have here if we truncate that westbound left turn lane. We'd end up with a wider section heading eastbound for maybe 100 feet in advance of that driveway as you're coming from Route 6, wanting to turn in.
Okay. If you need an example of where they seem to have allowed a left turn lane in Avon on 167 with a new daycare facility that was recently put in, they did actually put in a full turn lane, and I realize it's different use, different whatever, and I'm not the traffic expert, but just throwing it out.
Daycare.
I think it might be helpful.
Yeah, very high
traffic intensive.
use,
Yeah.
so they sometimes make exceptions, but typically lower volume residential uses it's bypass with, but we can entertain it with them through the permit application.
Thank you.
Yep.
Given the IDD residential component and the fact that those residents don't drive, and the proposal includes a sidewalk on Scott Swamp Road, which I don't believe exists today. Is that right? There's no sidewalk. So CVS currently has a sidewalk partway along Scott Swamp, but it like terminates in their parking lot rather than continuing all the way across. And so one, I guess, I presume your sidewalk would end several feet from, it would end at your property line, and there would be several feet from there to get to the, I don't know if you can pull up a street view, Shannon, if that's.
Well, it's showing on the aerials.
Okay.
So
That's fine.
we've got,
Just want to make sure everybody understands. So there'd be several feet from the end of your sidewalk to get to the CVS driveway, and then from that driveway to, I'm sorry, Phil, to get to connect to the existing sidewalk, if there would be potential for the applicant to work with DOT if it's okay to put a sidewalk in that right of way, and to actually add a sidewalk there to connect to the existing sidewalks, which then go a little bit north and a little bit south to Farmstead, for example, and just fill in a gap that probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. But
That's
I realize it's off the property, but just for the benefit of the residents and
understood.
And one, for the record, Tom Daly, we are extending to the driveway past our property line. That was actually a comment that traditionally you stop right at your property line.
Right.
But we are connected. As you can see on the sidewalk from the Exxon Mobil, we're connecting to that one.
Yep.
And then our property does, there's about a 10-foot gap. I'll let the bigger question for the applicant, but we are checking into the driveway.
Okay.
That was a comment.
Thank you.
And I think Mr. Richards is coming up to address the second part of that.
Yeah.
So and I don't know the exact history, but in meeting with the neighbors who were very familiar with the CVS application, the former silo, they were vehement that there was not a sidewalk placed in front of the CVS. I don't exactly know the rationale.
Okay.
But I can tell you that in my interactions with them, they reminded us of that it didn't make a tremendous amount of sense to us, but that was certainly part of the proceedings when the CVS and was approved, and the
okay, that's fair.
That's why that sidewalk's not there, I believe.
I mean, my thought would be, one, it's an incomplete sidewalk network, and then you're forcing people to walk through it, and in this case, potentially intellectually disabled and individuals to walk through the parking lot versus being able to walk on a sidewalk doesn't seem like the appropriate thing. But I also respect your feedback that you've gathered in the process you went through with the neighbors. So yeah, I don't know what to do about that, but thank you for answering. And then one other thing just about parking, sorry, was it sounded like you reduced the parking to some degree because of the supportive housing residents who don't drive, but it sounded like there will be staff on site daily. I don't know if that's 7 days a week. I don't know if that's 24 hours a day or just sort of business hours or whatnot. Or it's maybe not even every day or all day.
All right, so I'm going to ask Mr. Richards to weigh in on the staffing of for the Favar offices. But yes, the request, and it was something I was going to bring up in my final comments at the end of the evening, the explicit request as suggested by Mr. Richards for that parking difference. So if you look at the SSROZ as we revised it on January 16th, The final regulation provides for, I believe, 1 parking space per 1-bedroom unit, 2 parking spaces for units of 2 bedrooms or more, here the 2 and 3 bedroom units, but the ability to reduce down to a 1 and 1.5 per unit ratio. If I believe the language is if there's a demonstration of less parking required. And that's partly why we went through that explanation of the 14 units that are dedicated to the supportive housing for Favar residents. They will not drive. So there's that reduction for you. And this was replicated. We did do the same thing at 80 South Road as well. So there's precedent for it in the town, but that was part of that explanation. I'm going to ask Kyle to talk a little bit about staffing for Favar, or sorry. Thank you.
Based on the size of the supported housing development, there will probably be about 3 to 4 staff on second shift, and weekends, 2 staff on third shift, and two to 3 staff on first shift. And we usually have at least 2 vans that would be on a site this size for people to do things. And, some people do drive actually and do have their own vehicles. We have no idea who will be living here, so I don't know about that, but not everybody.
And then what are the hours, if I may, through you, Madam Chair, what are the hours of operation for the Favar? So it's all 24/7?
24/7.
24/7. Someone's always available to assist the Favar residents.
On site, you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, that's the dedicated office space.
Okay. I'm not sure I totally get the math on the parking. So the proposal suggests that you're suggesting the 1 and 2, 1 for 1 bedroom, 2 for 2 and 3, but you have the right to reduce it to 1.5 pre-construction, right? So between approval and construction, based on what would be the basis of deciding that?
Excuse me, the reduction would be at this point, not after approval and before construction. So the regulation provides generally that SSROZ developments have to provide 1 parking space per 1-bedroom unit and 2 parking spaces for units of 2 bedrooms or more. That's kind of the floor. But then if the applicant provides evidence to the commission that less parking is needed, which we believe we have with the supportive housing units we're proposing on site, then the commission can reduce that ratio, or that math, if you will, to 1. It'll still be 1 space per 1-bedroom unit. That stays the same, but you go from 2 spaces for units of 2 bedrooms or more to 1.5 spaces for units of 2 bedrooms or more. And on the civil plans, on the cover of the civil plans, there is a zoning table with a parking calculation there as well.
And just to clarify, so based upon the regulation, the base regulation, we need 98 parking spaces. We're at 90. So 14 units, we didn't take all 14 out. And I think there was also an indication that the 3 bedrooms are for Favar. Those are 10, if they're not, they tend to have a lot of cars, with that. So yeah, from 90, the pure regulation says 98, we're at 90.
And so it sounds like 2 vans, a handful of staff
will be
around the clock.
Yeah, will be covered there. But we didn't take the full 14 out. Or sorry, it's more than 14 because it would be 1.5 on the bigger unit. So it's
yeah, okay.
Yeah. So right.
Because 14 units.
14 units, but they're actually some of the units are 1 space.
Thank you for the explanation.
So it was not a full
Yeah.
take them off. I believe, it's my opinion, we're well accommodated for the staff and the vans.
Okay.
And Commissioner Davidson, one thing I just want to make clear, and I say this all the time in my hearings, no one has an interest like ensuring there is sufficient parking, like the developer, because if there is an issue with parking, who's going to get the calls? and more importantly, you want your residents to be happy with where they live, and you want to provide the access to and from the developments, especially for the supportive housing units. So certainly part of that reason for not taking credit for that full 14 plus was to provide some flexibility there.
Understood. Thank you. One last question. So just to confirm, so in the description of sort of your other developments and that everyone is working, and I just want to clarify, Section 8, someone with a Section 8 voucher would qualify or could qualify to live in this community, correct? Right?
Potentially, it depends on on the program financing rules. So this is a little bit different than what a lot of people think about for 830G, where there's just a percentage, 30% of units are set aside for affordable. This assisted housing program through 830G, the specific rules for affordability are set by the financing program. So if it allows additional renter specific subsidies like Section 8, then sure, but it really is up to the specific program.
So are you saying that it would based upon if the Section 8 voucher applicant met all of the right income things that end up being in the finance requirements, then they could live there? Is that what I'm understanding?
A Section 8 voucher is a housing choice voucher given by provided by the Housing Authority in Farmington. That can be brought anywhere.
Right.
That's law. The notion I was trying to disabuse is, and that you often hear in some of these neighborhood meetings about affordable housing, is this idea of like a project-based Section 8 community, which is kind of a relic of the past. But formerly, they used to have communities that were funded entirely. That every unit had a rental subsidy that was attached to the community.
Yeah, right.
And that's different, as you're making the distinction from a housing choice voucher, which again can be brought anywhere.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarifications. I'm all set.
Yep. And Commissioner, I'll also add in our affordable housing needs memo, one of our exhibits is photos of affordable housing across the country. And it's exactly that, trying to get people away from this, the stigma of affordable housing and really showing what you saw on the screen that's been developed by Metro.
So, thanks.
Thank you.
I'll quickly echo everyone's comments. Thank you for the very comprehensive presentation. Regarding the affordability plan, I'm getting a sense of why there isn't a final plan yet, and that it's contingent upon the financing. But when will that plan be in a final form?
Right. So typically we don't actually, the commission does not see a final plan at submission. That's because by the time you actually are ready to lease up your units, whether set aside or affordable or assisted housing, the numbers have changed, right? And the details have changed. So typically what happens, and certainly if you need more details, I can call up Kyle or Ben, but we get our approval, we go through the additional approvals process. You heard about the DOT reviewing for the encroachment permit. There's obviously the funding process of actually securing the LIHTC and whatnot. And then when those specific rules for those financing programs are received, you ultimately end up recording on the land records a declaration of restrictive covenants, which specifies that. We then take that and package up and finalize the affordability plan, which essentially gets submitted to staff. Commission can certainly review it at its discretion, but it gets submitted to staff shortly before lease up or as you're getting ready to lease up the community.
And I take it this is the same approach that you've done in the other
Yes.
projects.
And that's for all 830G. We don't finalize it until you're ready to lease up because things change from now until leasing.
In the sorry to jump around a little bit, but in the SSROZ, it makes mention of family child care home and group child care homes. Could you just give a little context to that? I believe it's
I can, Attorney Gomes, if you don't mind. So that came with a public act of last year or the year before, and we had to add childcare and group childcare to all residential zones, and that came down through the public act, and we worked with Attorney DeCrescenzo, and there was a regulation change so that we adhered with the public act.
Okay.
And it could not be affordable housing projects could not be eliminated from that, and a variety of others. So we made the text amendments accordingly.
okay. Thank you. Does the 49 sort of anticipated affordable units include the 14 assisted living units that are set aside?
Oh, do the affordable units? I mean, I'm sure there will be a mix potentially, but yes, there's going to be some distribution of affordable with the supportive housing as well.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I'm really happy we're going to have a use for this space. And I like a partnership with Favor. I do have a couple questions based on the comments Tim had made. We're talking about, you said about 90 parking spaces, is that right?
90 parking spaces.
And number of handicap or accessible parking spaces?
10.
10.
Yes.
There's two per building.
Okay. And that takes into account vans that might permanently be parked there.
I'm sorry?
Does that take into account the vans that might be permanently parked there as part of the Favors program?
If they qualify to use the accessible parking spaces, any that have, right, any vehicles that have the accessible handicap parking sticker essentially can use those accessible spaces.
I was reading about the parking island in the middle. Science recommendation by the town that it be made a bit smaller.
I'm going to ask Mr. Daly to come up and address that.
Yes, so on the back side of the parking spaces, we took advantage of your compact parking spaces. It was Metro's desire to create a larger green space in the central island. So we felt, we understand the town's staff comment, but Metro felt strongly about having additional green space and not eating into there with the standard parking spaces. And the amount of compact spaces are in line with what's permitted by your code.
Thank you. And then there's something else about a bus shelter. First question, I guess, for Shannon. Is it on a bus? Are we on a bus route here?
I believe the comment is related to for schools. It's not on, so it's not on a public transportation route.
Okay.
It would only be if there was an interest from a school children, some type of shelter from a school children. And of note, there isn't one at Trailside. It's 1600 New Brighton Avenue. There is not one, and there's 90 units there. So,
okay,
it was just a suggestion.
Okay. Yeah, that's yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Rob.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to thank you for your presentation also. It's very thorough. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa.
Well, I had a question. Parking does sound a little confusing still to me, so I do want to review it. But given that whole traffic study, is the traffic study conducted by the applicant, and has it been reviewed by town services as far as what goes into it, the criteria? Because I don't know enough about what the standards are for the traffic study, and if it's been reviewed by anyone who has more knowledge of, the peak times or first responders.
So through you, Madam Chair, if I may. Yes, the traffic study was prepared by the applicant's consultant, Mark Vertucci of Fuss & O'Neill, and the rest of the team at Fuss & O'Neill. Staff did review, and I'm not speaking for Ms. Rutherford, she can certainly chime in, but staff, including engineering staff, reviewed that traffic study and provided commentary on it, which we then responded to in our January 16th submission. So I'll hand it over to Ms. I don't want to speak for her, but our understanding is that the traffic study met staff's requirements, and certainly it met the industry standard for traffic studies. And certainly, if you'd like more clarification on that, I can ask Mr. Vertucci to come up to talk a little bit about the requirements. But this is a very industry standard traffic study that you'll see with your developments.
Yes, so this is Shannon Rutherford responding. Yes, the traffic study was reviewed by town staff, myself in particular. I have worked with traffic studies for 20 or 30 years now. So I did pull it apart. We did ask questions. Mr. Vertucci, I'm sure, always enjoys some of the comments that he gets from our office. So trying to make sure that all the numbers add up and make sense, and we understand the impacts to the intersections, the queue lengths. That's also what spurred one of the comments with respect to adding the bypass lane, actually came from our colleague Bruce Sear, as he was reviewing the plan to try to see if we could get that left turn bypass into the site. So staff has reviewed it thoroughly. We don't take any exception to the results. We understand the traffic timing suggestions and believe they are germane and appropriate for this location.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just wanted to grab, I apologize, I'm grabbing my phone to do math because don't ever have a lawyer do math. And I know Commissioner Zarella is chuckling at that. To address the parking, right? So the way the SSROZ is drafted, the January 16th revised version, again, provides that the standard parking is 1 space per 1-bedroom unit, 2 spaces for units of 2 bedrooms or more. So when you look at our unit distribution here, we have 26 1-bedrooms, 34 2-bedrooms, and 2 3-bedrooms. If we use that standard base calculation, we would require 98 spaces on site. However, because we've provided evidence into the record, which hopefully the commission finds persuasive, we have the ability, which Ms. Rutherford has up on the screen or is about to pull up, we have the ability to get the commission to reduce that ratio down to 1 parking space per 1-bedroom unit. So that stays the same. And then for units of 2 bedrooms or more, we can reduce that down to 1.5 spaces. So by my math, and someone can throw something at me if I'm wrong, that would mean that we really only need 80 spaces. So we've gone from 98 reduced down to 80, but we're still providing 90. So we've got that buffer there for potential visitors, FAVAR staff, anyone that may come in addition to the residents on site. And I'm going to look at my team, make sure my numbers are correct. Okay, good. My engineer gave me a thumbs up. So great. I hope that answers your question, Commissioner.
Well, you don't know the actual occupants that will be residing there. How do you know that you'll have enough parking for the residential care providers if there needs to be people on site in addition to family visiting?
So Commissioner Fagan, that's why we consulted with the FAVAR team to ensure that we were meeting those standards. I'll also note that 1 for 1 bed and 2 for 2 bedrooms or more was really kind of set by the state as the benchmark, if you will. But I'd like to just remind the commission, and again, I do feel the need to say it, this comes down to public health and safety, right? Is the parking that we're currently providing on site, does it implicate a public health and safety concern? We'd say certainly it doesn't. So we certainly meet the 830G standard. But again, if you look at that ratio that I just provided based on that reduction, which Shannon is pointing to on the plans, we only need 80. We're still providing 90. So there is a little bit of a prediction here, but that's based on Metro's significant experience in the multifamily development community, as well as their partnerships with FAVAR and other communities. Mr. Richards is up here as well to provide some additional insight.
Yeah, I think that part of this exercise was a function of how the regulation was written. But just to give additional clarity on actual data from the field, we have a portfolio of a couple thousand apartments and the parking ratios are much, much smaller than you would think. Everyone thinks that there's two vehicles in every apartment, and it just isn't the case. We find in our communities that the average number of spaces or vehicles per apartment is closer to 1.2 or 1.3 max. That's across our entire portfolio. So I don't want to get entirely lost in the way the regulation was written. This regulation traces back to other affordable housing regulations, and I think from a consistent matter, it got incorporated into this one. But for whatever it's worth, I can tell you based on a lengthy amount of experience that this is more than enough parking.
And it's technically 10 spaces over what is, so with using the 1.5 spaces for 2 bedrooms or more, Attorney Gomes did the math. I reran the math already upstairs and it's all marked out. It's 80 parking spaces and the application is providing 90. So there is inherently that buffer is added in for the FAVAR staff, the bus. It is all integrated into that.
Jeff Sager, 15 White Oak Road. So for your consideration, when we did 80 South Road, right? So that's on South Road between the two medical campuses. In the first building there, it's 1.5 per thousand. We never get beyond 60%. We have a ton of excess parking using that same ratio. So drive by it, you can see it. It's an easy illustration. And there's so much space that I wanted more storage, and we built a shed in 3 of the spaces because Shannon was comfortable they're never getting used. But I mean, we're nowhere near. We've got the 1.5 per thousand there. We're nowhere near it. We're at 60%, and it's the same population. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Lisa?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. And Taylor.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate my fellow commissioners' admiration for the presentation, and also I personally I feel good knowing that this is an existing property that's being used, as opposed to, you know, taking some natural landscape and, you know, raising it and turning it into a parking lot essentially. So I do appreciate the fact that this is going into an area that is otherwise derelict, and I really do like that. I do have concerns like everybody else. And you know, you guys have hammered the parking thing in. I shared the same concerns as Lisa and Josh and everybody else. But so I won't really touch on that. But in regards to the height of building A, is that going to be the same as or taller than the CVS? And will the buffer zone accommodate the view, I guess, if you would?
So I do not know the top of the top height of the CVS building, so I can't say precisely. But I can tell you that the buffer plantings will not entirely screen the 3-story elevation. I believe the measurement there that is being shown, and this is different from how it's calculated within your regulations. Your regulations don't take it to the top. It actually measures midway on the roof, but I believe that's roughly 45 feet.
Okay.
Is that
Correct. 4410. Yes, 45.
So the building, no, it will not be screened by the buffer plantings from the road. We felt strategically where we located the building, rather than facing a 3-story elevation like along Scott Swamp, we thought it was best backing it up so you see the side of the building alongside the CVS, the commercial side of the parcel. But you know, no, to be honest, those buffer plantings are a long way away from being able to screen the entire building from the road. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that did answer my question. And I do think that's good that it's facing the CVS. The only other recommendation I would have is if it got swapped around where the other 2 buildings are abutting the forest area, but that's, you know, that's an entire redesign and that's not feasible. But so I do have a couple other questions though. The road and emergency access was mentioned, and I noticed that there is a median at the entrance. Does that median allow for, say, a ladder truck to get in there should the need arise? Because those need to make pretty wide turns. And, you know, I live right down the road from here and remember when Touch Points was around, it was kind of a constant barrage of emergency vehicles heading down there. And I don't expect it to be the same, but I don't remember there being a median there. And I'm worried that would impact their ability to get in and service the area.
Yeah, for the record, Tom Daly. So we actually have a program called Auto Turn. It allows us to build a fire truck for individual towns. So we have all the parameters and specifications for your ladder truck. And we ran an auto turn in and out of the property. That being said, one of the town engineer's comments was taking a closer, I think he said it was tight. So we were able to get in and out, but it was tighter. So we'll, as part of this, we'll look at that. The island is small. It simply is, but it will have also a mountable curb. So around the perimeter is mountable curb, so the fire truck can get around there. But in part of our submission package, you should be able to find fire truck turning movements that are built specifically for your fire truck. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. And I again, it was hammered home quite a lot, but I do agree that there is a need to look at a potential left-hand turn lane there, especially with CVS being right there. I know personally driving down Scott Swamp Road, you'll get one person stopping to turn left into Exxon, one person stopping to turn into what used to be Touch Points and now is your property, and one person stopping to turn into CVS, and that causes a big backup of traffic right there, and also sudden stops. And so, you know, you don't need to go into any details on it or anything, but I just wanted to mention I agree that I think the need is there for an exclusive turn lane, or at least an extension. And my next question was,
Apologies, before you move on, I just wanted to make something clear for the record when we're talking about emergency access. So through you, Madam Chair, to be clear, the fire truck turning plan that is in the record shows that we satisfy the needs for emergency access on site. We're just looking at kind of taking it above and beyond that, and we'll discuss that with staff. That was part of the staff commentary. So as proposed, what you see in front of you today, emergency access and circulation is sufficient, but we're going to explore whether there are ways to even, you know, highlight that or make it even better. But I just wanted to make it clear we meet the requirement, and staff was satisfied with that, but for the comment that it was a little tight. Let's see if we can make it any better. So apologies for interrupting. I just didn't want to move off of emergency access. Commissioner Poxon.
No, that's totally appreciated. I very much appreciate the response. My next question, I don't know who would answer this one, but I am a big fan of the fact that the back area is going to be turned into a conservation area. I am aware of the presence of Asiatic bittersweet on the property, which is highly invasive, and directly across the street on Scott Swamp, which I know we're not really talking about, but there is Japanese knotweed. And Japanese knotweed is, I mean, it's a subject that I could go on and on and on about, but it is highly invasive and highly destructive. And I'm curious if there are mitigation strategies surrounding the invasives that are both present and potentially present on the property.
Yes, for the record, Tom Daly. I think the large portion of the Japanese knotweed, I think you're probably talking about, I believe, is down towards Route 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a good portion of that actually is on the DOT property. It was probably fill when they built Route 6, and that's where Japanese knotweed tends to be. It's where the fill is. So I think our ability to mitigate that without going into the Route 6 right away is probably not going to happen. As part of the wetlands application, we did present to the commission, and we made a commitment that along the perimeter of the development, along the new tree line, we would then extend anywhere from 10 to 20 feet into that tree line to do any invasive species removal. We would, once we get in there, we work with town staff, we'd have our wetland scientist, and we come up with a plan. You're right, there's a lot of there's multiflora rose. There's a lot of that. There is another area on the backside. I think you're right too. There is another area on the backside of the building. I think Shannon's pointing out there might be also some Japanese knotweed in there. So we, as a part of the Wetlands Commission, is really to clean up the edges There was not a plan at this point to go holistically into the woods to do a complete holistic approach to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that answers that question. Another thing I thought of was I realize this probably isn't a requirement, but materials being used for building the entire property. Clearly we've all heard horror stories of, pop-up developments happening where residents come in, they expect something nice, and a year, 2, 3, 5, whatever later, it's leaking, pipes are breaking, walls are paper thin, stuff like that. Is there a guarantee of quality?
Through you, Madam Chair, with Metro, I'd say always yes, absolutely. And certainly if there were ever any concerns, listen, it's like with any construction, right? Your own homes, there's the potential for something happening. But you heard from Mr. Richards that Metro proposes, permits, owns, and manages these properties, and they've done so very, very well. They have a track record in Farmington of 3 decades, and they also have similar communities throughout towns in Connecticut. So with Metro, I'd say yes, there's a guarantee. And if there's an issue, then it's very, very clear who to call, which is the Metro office, and they'll address it promptly. Never say never. Things happen, but it will be fixed and will be addressed as quickly as practical.
Okay. I guess I just have 2 more, I promise. So, it's 80% affordable. Why is it only 80%? Why is it not 100? Is there a reason to not make it fully affordable housing, or is it just a need to reclaim some of the money put in?
No, and I mean, Ben can answer that. You'll answer it more.
Again, Ben Tripp. So I think just from a practical standpoint, mixed income communities are always a better option. It's integrating individuals of all levels of affordability just makes for a better community. The other reason is because we're competing for these as Andrea mentioned, the low income housing tax credit, very highly competitive program. The state has recognized that mixed income communities, including market rate, make for better overall communities, and they incentivize developers to include at least 20% of their of the apartment homes at market rate. They award points for that. So we could do more than 20% and earn those points. We're doing just the 20% that the state requires, because we have found, again, 20% at 30, 40% at 50%. It's a good mix for an overall mixed income community.
The balancing act.
Okay. Yeah, forgive my unfamiliarity with the subject. So I just felt the need to ask. I'm not sure what the empirical data is in regards to why those communities are considered better, but I'll trust your word for that. And so my last point was, you guys talked about getting workers in town housing, which I think is incredible. I think that's a noble pursuit. I just question, if you don't know who the residents are now, how is there assurance that they are going to be workers in town? I think it's great to say that you want that for the people, but if you can't prove that it's going to be, town workers, and I don't expect it to be only town workers. I'm just saying, like, is there assurance that people will be working in town?
And through you, Madam Chair, no, there isn't, nor would there be, because when you start talking about residency mandates, you're implicating discrimination under the Fair Housing Act. So there's a requirement in our affordability plan that we market these affordable units for rent. We certainly post notices in the paper and do the affirmative fair marketing plan is what it's called, but you can't start limiting the residents who can apply to live here based on residency requirements, right? Farmington only residents, or if you're in West Hartford or New Haven or whatever municipality, because then you're implicating the Fair Housing Act. So that's intentional for that exact reason. I believe the point that Mr. Richards was making during his presentation is, again, a lot of what we do here as a team, we're talking about stormwater, we're talking about zoning, we're talking about all these things, but a lot of what we do as a team, as folks who deal with affordable housing on the day-to-day, is addressing stigma and really trying to dismantle the negative stereotypes that people often believe, think, assume when they hear affordable housing. They think of brick and mortar Section 8, right? That's what they think of. Those days are happily, thanks to programs like 830G, I'd like to say those days are behind us. So a lot of what we're doing is reducing that stigma. And the reason we mention Farmington workers is because, number one, there's a need for housing in Farmington. You have such a great employment base in town. A lot of these people want to live in town, which is wonderful. But also the folks who qualify for these affordable units, they're your municipal workers, your teachers, your firefighters, your next door neighbor. It's not this level of income that, again, people negatively associate with affordable housing. So that's part of that discussion, Commissioner. But to answer your question, no, we can't predict it, nor would we.
Yeah, and for the record, I in no way meant it as an insult to anybody looking to, utilize an affordable housing package. I think it's great, and I do agree with the sentiment behind it and what you're doing with this.
It's a question we get all the time, Commissioner, and I didn't take it. I was not
No.
insulted.
I'm just new to it. That's all, So I feel the need to ask and become informed, But I do really greatly appreciate that people have the opportunity to live here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All set, Taylor?
That was it. Thanks for bearing with me, guys.
Okay. Oh, we have lots of questions and lots of well thought out questions and lots of great answers. Everyone asked all of mine except for one. Had to say something. So you said currently the Touch Points building has a basement. Are your units going to have basements? They're going to be I'm seeing head shaking.
No basements for the record.
That's what I thought. I wanted to make sure I got that right. And it's 50 years will be the period of affordability. Yes. Okay. I think that is all of my questions for now. This is a public hearing. And so anyone in the room who would like to speak, now is your opportunity.
Madam Chair,
you have another question?
Just
certainly.
one more set of questions for the applicant. Did the applicant have the opportunity to see the agenda review document?
Yes.
And the applicant had a chance to review the items for consideration conditions at the end of the section on this application?
Yes, Commissioner, and the items for review, meaning the proposed.
There's 6 items, 5 of which are conditions.
Yep, and to be clear, I apologize if I wasn't clear before. All of that is incorporated into what we said. We have no issues with proceeding under these items for consideration as approval conditions.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that was clear
Yes.
there. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was it?
Yep.
Okay, great. So seeing no one running up to speak in the room, how about anyone online, Shannon?
Sure, we do have a hand raised, and I'll simply, for the record, if anyone else wishes to offer comment on the 20 Scott Swamp Road application, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom, and you will be acknowledged to address the commission. We have Phil Chabot, and Phil, you should be able, if you full name and address, and then address your
718 Camp Street, Farmington, Connecticut. I've been watching this site watching this site intently, seeing what would be happening with this. I think it's a great development. Part of my job is reviewing low-income developments, and I think this is a great fit for this site. I just want to offer my public support, and I'm also a member of the EDZ commission in town. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else is called in to offer comment regarding the 20 Scott Swamp Road application, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. You'll be acknowledged to address the commission. Okay, Madam Chair, there are no other hands raised. We do have written correspondence that came in that we should formally enter into the record. I gotta open them up.
And this is in addition to the packet, the letters that we were received.
No, so these are all of the items that were posted to the website.
Okay.
So I do just want them captured on the screen.
Wonderful.
I won't read them word for word. I typically don't. I won't change that practice since we did have the opportunity to have them posted. Let's see if I don't know if I can get these to open all at once. No, that's not gonna happen. So you're gonna have to sit and watch me click them all. You don't have to watch me close them all, but you do have to watch me open them all. Sorry, everybody. Highlight all, which I just did. Haha. Thank you.
Genius. Your new hero.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, so these are letters of support. This is a letter of support from a Favor family, Mr. and Mrs. Fernald. Again, just citing the benefit of the supportive housing for their adult child. We have a second, this is an email. Yeah, and a ton of these were addressed to apparently an alter ego that I didn't know I had. So we've had great fun with that.
I was wondering about that.
No, yeah, we did too. We can't figure it out. So we just had fun with it. So this is another letter of support from a Favor family, the Sambrooks, regarding, again, the benefit of the supportive housing for their family. A letter from the Pepe family in support of the supportive housing and the benefits to their family. A letter from Sadowski family with respect to the supportive housing in Favor and the benefits that their family has had through the supportive housing. From the Schroen family and the benefits of the supportive housing that their family has experienced. The DeBellis family and the benefits of the supporting housing for their family. The Silva family and the benefits of the supportive housing for their family. The Crowther family and the benefits of the supportive housing for their family. The Morrow and Howard family and the benefits of the supportive housing for their family. The Strauss family and the benefits of the supportive housing for their family. Tresecki family and the benefits of the supportive housing for their family. This is a letter from FIP and MACKB LLC on New Britain Avenue. This business is located just north of the Trailside development at 1600 New Britain Avenue, and they are writing in support of the application as a local business. And this email is from Michael McPhee, again, writing in support as a business owner of the affordable housing project. And I believe that concludes the written correspondence that we received on this application.
Okay, thank you very much. Lots of information. Now, members of the board, does anyone have any other questions while we're still in the public hearing? Okay, And Attorney, did you still care to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm never going to turn down a chance to speak, but I will keep it short, Madam Chair. So I want to highlight a phrase that Mr. Richards used when he was talking, which is smart development. And I think that really hits the nail on the head here. But before I get to that, I just want to end kind of where we began, which is with 830G. Again, reminding the commission, this 3-part application provides that the application can't be denied unless there is a specific, non-speculative evidence of a substantial public health or safety issue in the record, which outweighs the need for affordable housing in the region and in the town specifically, and which cannot be addressed by reasonable changes to the plan. Tonight, I hope the commission has gathered and has concluded not only with our verbal testimony tonight, but the very detailed written submissions that we've made in advance of this evening, that the proposed plan will not create or exacerbate any public health or safety issues. With 830G, the buck essentially stops there. That's the analysis. But I'm going to take it a step further, and this gets back to the smart development I just mentioned. We have revised the plans significantly to incorporate comments from the Wetlands Commission, including that significant conservation easement that the commission saw. Comments from the neighborhood. Metro was literally boots on the ground, talking to neighbors, continuing the conversation beyond just that meeting to incorporate revisions into the plans, the taller trees, the denser buffers, and also town staff. And we've incorporated that, and the result is what we believe a better plan, of course. But importantly for us, we also are appreciative that we kind of got to staff sign off, which is where we want to be. We want to work in concert and as a collaborator with not only the commission, but town staff. And we've succeeded in doing so here, subject, of course, to those considerations that Commissioner Zarella brought up in the agenda review. From, again, a smart development perspective, we're taking a vacant, deteriorating property in a great location and transforming that into a productive use while improving stormwater, landscaping, and frankly, just the overall aesthetics of the site. To boot, we're doing so while providing a significant number of affordable units to the town of Farmington, but also approximately 14 supportive units. You've heard at length today about the partnership with FAVAR, and certainly the numerous letters that Ms. Rutherford just touched on from FAVAR parents they really hit home. And all of this is extremely important in the affordable housing crisis that we are currently in, which are laid out in our materials. Finally, the application is being put forth by Metro, and I don't think that the commission can or will discount that. Metro, a very well-respected local developer with a 3-decade track record in the town of Farmington, to boot with a host of other towns in the state of Connecticut, proposing and developing high-quality, meaningful housing, and in partnership with, again, the commission and your terrific town staff. So the proposal checks all of these boxes and more. I promised I'd keep it brief, so I'll end there. But again, we respectfully request for approval. We believe we've met the legal standard. And as with all Metro applications, we've gone above and beyond. We thank you, the commission, for your time.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, gentlemen. Yes, it is all gentlemen. And you, and Lisa. Commissioners, do we feel that we have enough information to close the public hearing and make a decision this evening? I'm seeing head nods. Okay. So then we need to close the public hearing. And the process, we have 3 things to vote upon. So, let's see, does people want to have some discussion? Can we discuss before we have amendments or before we have motions? Okay. Anyone have questions, comments, anything they'd like to make known?
More about making the motion, I guess. I'm seeing that we were approving the text amendment to the regulations. Is that
Yes.
correct? And then we are approving the zone change from a BR to SSRZ.
Yes.
And then we're approving the site plan.
Yes.
That would be the process.
Yep. Yeah, I'd prefer three motions, three votes, and as noted, then the effective dates are the state 16 days, 17 days, and 18 days, so the staggered effective dates.
Okay.
Right, one has to take effect before the next, and then the next. Right.
Okay. Yes.
I think each motion should refer to the conditions highlighting the agenda review.
Okay.
It's probably more pertinent to the site plan, so the conditions could go to the site plan.
Okay.
That's fine with me.
Okay, are we ready?
I apologize. Just from a procedural perspective, I request that the commission, if it may, if it feels so inclined, to close the public hearing. So we'll need more motion. Sorry,
That's true. I forgot to
lawyer hat on.
officially
No,
do
it's
it.
okay. I just want to make sure there's an end because believe it or not, people have litigated that before. So
Yeah, she
close the public
Thank you.
hearing.
I thought you already did though. didn't you?
Yeah, she closed it at 10:22.
I did say it. I didn't know if I needed to vote.
Yeah.
This
we
is my
typically
first
don't
time,
vote on the
you know,
close.
all these lawyers in the room on my first meeting as the chair. Wow, pressure.
Is that true? Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm the wrong person to ask.
Okay, so we have officially closed the public hearing. So let's commence the motioning.
All right. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the text amendment to the regulations. Do we mention Metro in this piece also?
You can, yeah, so approve the text amendment as for the application as presented.
Okay, for the application as presented with with an effective date of 16 days after legal notice is published in the paper.
Okay, and a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Yes, please.
All right. I'd also like to make a motion to approve the zone change from a BR to an SSROZ.
As
As proposed, as presented. Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't say the effective date.
Oh,
So
oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
effective date of 17 days after legal notice being published in the paper.
Okay. Would you mind re-seconding?
Second.
Okay. And so let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Okay.
All right. And finally, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the site plan made by Metro Realty as presented, but also with the conditions as discussed with an effective date of 18 days after legal notice is published.
Second.
Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so moved. Congratulations and
Congrats.
good luck. Shannon, may I take one? more?
Yes, you're gonna take a 5-minute recess, everybody?
please.
Stretch your legs. We've got just probably about 10, 15 minutes of planners report stuff. Yep, absolutely.
I thought we were doing big wines. Big wine. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
We should serve snacks.
That was on the agenda. Oh, it's the 9th. Oh, that's right. It got moved. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I've been spoiled the past 2 years. Mostly get short.
Yeah, it's just, the first one was, the last one with the other lawyer, and that was a late one. And this one- Yeah, you're no fun. When my wife starts, I said, you're no fun.
It's not always like this.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So it was good. It was good. We good behaved. We fortunately we were traveling with our family and they started getting started.
Fresh air.
Of course, all of our kids.
Yeah, I'm sure. We were.
But it
several
is
times
in
yesterday,
the long run.
and then we were out again this morning. Yeah.
It was good.
It's funny. When the
Yep.
last times we took the girls out to Disney, everybody goes,
Yes.
"Have this place up there."
Like special meeting rooms that
Yeah.
are down.
I'm like,
So,
no,
so-
we get down there.
Oh, nice. Good
She
for
was on.
her.
They certainly have extracting money to a science.
Oh,
but-
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it was good.
It was good. But it was good.
Yeah, we got. We were
Steve, are we twinsies today? Are you wearing jeans?
I am.
Yeah.
First stretch of the trip, like.
Oh, we
high
called each other up.
Second stretch was a little cloudier.
I was gonna call you and
60s
see if you were
was still
coming
very
today. I
comfortable.
was- wasn't sure if you'd come in or.
It
wasn't too bad.
I drove really slow. Roads are.
We got out of it.
I decided I would just drive through technically
That was,
Route 4 and
it's
179.
not the lightest
Along
time.
the river, there's no hills.
It's tough. I don't know how they cleaned up so much snow so fast. That's a lot.
I know you
That was
understand,
a lot shorter.
right? And I was
Yeah, I think we ended up
We went
just
down
under
there.
2 feet.
Wasn't really,
Yeah.
wasn't the Disney.
It's up to my knees.
rather than just say.
Snow is, we're shoveling, it's over Valerie's head.
But,
So I know it's at least 5 foot.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm like 3 inches deep.
Come and make
So-
your
Pretty
plans,
funny.
you know, dedicate your week. And then, yeah, sorry, you're not coming in.
Yeah.
See
It's,
how
talk about
is it possible? How big a deal is it?
It's definitely.
Yeah.
Which was my intention.
There's been times
I
where
know.
it's so busy, I wonder why.
Well, it's just-
Well,
Especially pushing kids around in a
Yes,
stroller and stuff.
exactly.
right. Small things, small, right. Perhaps some familiarity, right? So just to know you
Better?
understand. Then
Well, I drink water just to stay awake.
settle.
Get myself in
Yeah,
trouble.
it'll settle.
It's easier.
And I think, great job.
Right.
Kind of feeling out where we're
Sort
gonna-
of.
Yeah, so.
Toiling with
Right.
breakfast.
Yes.
Oh,
And I was listening for-
You have to bring one for everybody.
It's safe. I don't
Fox
drink
and
water.
Joe.
Some evenings.
Of course, I'm in for the signature. But yeah. And then, yeah.
Sit down. That's it. Hold down the audience for this, you know.
And then it's one.
Yes.
We should know how to clear out a room, huh?
Right?
Okay, everybody. Planners report. I will hopefully be succinct. We do have Jesse Catano, our Director of Recreation, is online. And Jesse is more than happy to jump in, answer questions. But I am going to handle this kind of like a speed dating exercise. And then if y'all have questions, then Ms. Jessie is more than happy to jump in. She's had quite an education on affordable housing with us this evening. She's been on all night. So Jessie's been with us just over a year, and one of her first projects in the door last year was to put together a grant application to submit to the state of Connecticut to get funding for work and upgrades that are much needed at Tungus Mead Park. So you will see on the aerial map that I have, there's a number of elements that are highlighted that correlate to work elements that are discussed in the scope of work that was part of the agenda review and was part of the STEEP grant. So we have the Grocky, the baseball field, the Grocky baseball field, our softball field, which is referred to as softball field 1 that our high school team uses for their games, our Al Bell soccer field that I think if you've been down at the Mead, everybody has seen the Al Bell soccer field. The kickboard where players will use just to bounce the ball off of. The basketball courts and the Setlow family turf field. As we then go to the steep grant, there were 6 primary projects, and then there's a 7th ancillary project that has come about because of the 6 projects. So the replacement of lighting at the baseball and softball field, they are field lights for athletic purposes. They're not parking lot lights. These are for the athletic fields for use at nighttime for night games. There is not a change in the light stanchion or foundation. It is just the light heads. They are converting to LED heads. It is not necessarily a change in use activity. It's same use, same activity, just an opportunity for more efficient light heads being installed. Item 2 was renovation of dugouts and press box at the baseball field. So again, if you're frequent down there, you will understand that is in need of some repair and upgrade. I believe there's a full improvements being done at that location. The basketball courts are being entirely renovated, so they'll be removed and renovated to a post-tension concrete surface. We've done the same with the tennis courts. So I believe the tennis courts at IR and then the tennis courts up here at the high school are all post-tension concrete. Just much better durability and utilization for that. At the Setlow family turf field, we have an opportunity to install sidewalk to get, and it's an ADA ramp off the little loop drive, a sidewalk up, and then sidewalk to each along each side, or the end, if you will, suppose one end and one side of the field, and concrete pad for the stands. And then this purple or blue, purple extension, that's an add alternate depending upon bid prices. So you can see there's the 6-foot concrete sidewalk. The green was the 4-foot concrete sidewalk, and the cyan color was a 20 by 20 concrete bleacher pad. And then depending on funding and pricing, the sidewalk will be extended along the entire south end of that field. And then just looking at it in the context of all of the Tungus Mead Park, this is this field that we're talking about. This sidewalk will come in off the loop and extend along the west and south face of the turf field. Item 5 is the replacement of the safety netting, poles, and fencing at the baseball field and the softball field. So again, this is upgrade, maintenance type work, with the caveat that at the softball field, this fence is being moved in, interestingly, towards home plate, approximately 70 feet to comply with the Title IX requirements. It will then be used for the girls softball only. Currently, it's used as men's league softball and girls softball. This will now be girls only, and the men's league will utilize the field at the northern end of the complex. Yeah, that's it. And then with that, then came item 7. The kickboard is going to be able to be relocated basically in the vicinity where the old fence was, because the fence is going to come in 70 feet. So the kickboard will move to a more central location to the complex. Little more visibility, particularly for the off hours use with our sports enthusiasts. And so just a little more able to keep an eye on things. And then finally, there's an upgrade to the sound system at both at the Grocky field, the softball field, and the Al Bell field. And I had extensive conversations with both Jesse and Russ Arnold, our Director of Public Works, regarding sound system in fields, and wanted to make sure I understood what was going on. And the use is limited. It's limited now. There is a system now This is actually going to be improved. There'll be more and better quality speakers, so the volume can actually be modulated better in that, right, more speakers, you can lower that volume. You don't need one larger speaker to blast it all out. It is limited for game use. It's for high school use. The Grocky baseball field, there's also, Jesse, what's the name of the league that uses that field? I apologize.
Legion uses that field.
The Legion uses that field. So again, it's limited sound system use. So they are not used, the sound system isn't used for the rec league. So like the soccer recreation, it's not used for the rec program. It is used really for our high school programs. So these are all enhancements to the Tungus Mead complex. The projects are mostly maintenance related and deferred maintenance items. And with the success Jesse had with securing the grant, it's allowing these projects to be banded together, grouped together as under one umbrella, funding umbrella, rather than the town of Farmington having to program these out over 5, 10, or 15 years as funding became available. Jesse, do you have anything to add? Did I hit everything?
I think you hit everything perfectly. Other than I would just mention that for the Setlow fields, the additional sidewalks are also to prevent some of the wear and tear that we're seeing on that field. We had to do almost $10,000 repairs to that field recently because of the amount of dirt being tracked onto the fields because there's no sidewalk. So as well as allowing for ADA access, it is a maintenance like Shannon had mentioned.
Thank you. Okay, so this is more an FYI. So as projects are coming up, and right, this is, most people are down at the meet at some point. So this isn't something that is a site plan review. There's no other review with the commission. So we wanted to bring it to your attention. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, we're happy to answer any.
Just way to go getting that grant. That's phenomenal.
I just have one.
That's super.
On the soccer field, the Setlow one, where that sidewalk could end, the 4-foot sidewalk going up. Is there a gate there for them to get in there? Because you were talking about dirt. I mean, if you're gonna have a sidewalk up there, is there a gate there where the players can come in and go to the benches?
No, the gate is actually kind of midfield. Yeah, Shannon, you were pretty close. I think it's a little bit further up.
But there is a gate.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Taylor has his hand. Taylor, go ahead, jump in.
Hi. So like I said earlier during the presentation about the housing development, I could talk for hours on end about invasives and Japanese knotweed. And I'm curious if this grant, if it's not, I mean, maybe the funds have been fully allocated at this point, but Tungus has a severe Japanese knotweed infestation. And the last time I was there, it was actually beginning to encroach upon the soccer fields and grow in the soccer fields. And I'm not sure if my colleagues are aware or not, but it can grow from a single leaf. Like, this is something that's pretty bad. If you've driven around the state, you've seen it. It looks like bamboo. It's got big leaves, white flowers in the fall. It's all up and down Route 6. But if you mow it, it grows. And I was just curious if there's a conservation plan surrounding that, or if there's an avenue towards conservation surrounding that, because it is becoming an increasingly difficult problem. And actually, my wife had done a study on it, and a management proposal that I think made it to Shannon a few years ago, but I could be wrong, with regards to its impact in like the North Meadows along the river. But Sorry, I don't want to go on anymore. We're all tired, but I was just curious if there was any funding for management in regards to that.
So not for this particular grant was a small town STEEP, so economic assistance program, I guess is what they call it. And the way this particular grant was written was based off of a 2020 plan that the town done for Tungus Mead improvement specifically. And unfortunately, invasives weren't included in that plan. I do know part of our strategic plan for the town moving forward is to do a full evaluation for everything and come up with a maintenance plan. I don't do the maintenance specifically. I work in conjunction with Public Works, obviously, but that's something we can definitely look at for future plans and then how to evaluate moving forward to continue to maintain these facilities.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else?
No, that's great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jesse. Thanks for hanging in with us.
Oh gosh, my pleasure. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Bye, have a good night.
You as well. Thank you.
Okay, that was the only planner's report item I had. We'll do minutes, and then I've got one other thing for the commission as a whole.
Okay, so we need to approve some minutes. We need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the December 8th, 2025 Town Plan and Zoning Commission.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay. Phil's abstaining.
Okay. If we weren't part of the commission, is that?
You don't have to, if you read them and you are familiar enough with what took place, then, and yes, it's an accurate representation, you don't have to abstain.
Thanks.
Okay. And then we need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the January 12th, 2026 administrative and regular meetings.
Second, and I just add for the record that I did watch the entire recording of that meeting.
Oh, thank you. Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, minutes are approved. Well done, Lance. And Shannon.
And the only other thing was April 13th, I've been made aware that we've got two commissioners. It happens to be Farmington Spring Break Week. There's multiple schools that have spring break that week. So April 13th, there is a meeting scheduled. This happens regularly. Just check your schedules, and I can send a follow-up email, but check your schedules. I can push and pull applications to try to avoid having hearings that night if we think there's going to be more than two. It's our chair and our secretary are out. So just check your schedules, let me know, and we can go from there. Okay.
I'll be out of town too.
You will be? Okay. All right. Okay. Now, if we get to a point where we don't have quorum, then obviously the meeting will be canceled, but I'll adjust and just pay attention as applications come in for hearing schedules. Okay. All right. Very good.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. That's all I have.
Okay. So we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.